Yeah, so what's going on? This is Wild Philosophy with Wild Phil, and we got John Hickok, Hickok 45, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Let's get fucking wild. What's going on? So yeah, we were saying you do like you're doing YouTube full time.
Yeah. I was just saying that I feel bad because sometimes I'll be on comedy shows and I'll be taping my set and I'll film the entire show.
Yeah.
And then in the moment I'm like, yeah, I'll get you your tape, no problem. And then I realize like, oh, this is going to be a lot to try to deal with this file. And when you Google Drive it to someone who lives across the country, you can't get it to them, so you got to Google Drive it to them, and then that like ties up your computer forever. And it's just hard with all the other work that I'm doing.
Yeah,
it's like my job that I'm making money with, And I always feel so bad about that, but
sometimes you can't be too nice, is what I figured out.
I know, dude. It's like I want to be nice in the moment, but then you realize like, oh, I just agreed to something I actually can't do.
Yeah. But you know what? I wouldn't feel as bad about that only because I've had fucking comedians like I go to the Vault, and there's a comedian there that he always brings like this professional camera and tripod, and I was like, dude, I'm really sorry, just got out of work, can you like film my set? And he did it once, and then the next week, and by the way, this guy's like, it's Trace Jenkins, so everybody knows him because he pulled the N-bomb several times, so he's not even in it anymore. But I asked him the second time, and I was like, yo, I'm really sorry, but I forgot it again. And he goes, yeah, it'll be $80. And I'm like, oh, that's funny, man. That's funnier than your set. He's like, no, it'll be $80. I'm like, dude, who are you charging $80?
Yeah.
That's doing? And then there was another guy who's a little off his hinges that he was paying him that much.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, like, yeah, I will not. I would feel bad. That to me is a sociopath because I would feel bad charging somebody $80. He's using like a, I don't even know, like a year 2000 fucking, I don't know what it's called, like a Casio,
Oh, yeah. It records like straight to VHS tape. One of those.
Like you have to, like, they don't make SD cards for how old his camera is.
Oh, wow.
So like that. But anyways,
nuts.
I always start out with let's get fucking wild. Like any wild shit happening in the past 2 weeks you want to share?
In the past 2 weeks. Damn, I feel like something did, and now I'm drawing a blank.
It's all good.
Yeah, I can't think of it now. I just something I did have a crazy couple weeks ago, but I cannot remember what it was now. Actually.
Yeah, I had probably one of the wildest fucking stories I will share on this podcast. I'm just gonna I just double check because sometimes I forget to hit record, but it happened once, and now I'm forever scarred. But so it's kind of it's gonna lead up to some. It's kind of a long story, but I had a co-host on here before, my buddy Carlos, and Carlos and I he's like my best friend for like 10 years, and we had some up and down falling outs because he's just like a little bit unreliable sometimes.
Okay.
Like
another comic.
No, he's
okay.
actually, I swear to God, funnier than a lot of people I know, but he has too much anxiety to go on stage.
I've always said comedians are not the funniest people. Like usually the funniest people are not comedians. It's just, but the skill of translating funny to the stage is a specific type of thing.
Yeah. I actually reach out to him, like, instead of like comedian friends, I reach out to him to like, what do you think of this bit,
Yeah.
But so
that's valuable.
Yeah.
Really.
And so me and Carlos, we were friends like 10, 15 years ago. And he had this friend that was a childhood friend named David. They used to call him White Boy because he was the only fucking white guy in North Lake. You know where that is? It's a shithole, dude.
Okay.
It is Trailer Park Boys with Latin Kings. Like the Telemundo Trailer Park Boys.
I want to meet their bubbles.
Yeah. Like that was the one place I got shot at in my entire life.
Wow.
I got shot at there on 4th of July by a random banger. And so David was Carlos's friend, and he kind of like hung on to him because he was a childhood friend, but he was a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He was the kind of dude that like, if you're staring at him, he'll punch you in the face, and he's kind of like a chubby wigger type. I don't know if you can say that anymore, but he and he also was that dude that like, if you had like, how like dudes have their own type or whatever, of like girl, whatever. His type was, I'm gonna steal your fucking girl.
Oh, jeez.
Like that's. Here, let me see something real quick. I just heard something on my computer. What the fuck was? Whatever. Yeah, can you talk near my mic again?
Hello, check 1 2. Okay. All right, we good?
Anyways, so this dude was just like, his type was like, oh, you got a girlfriend? I'm gonna steal from you, her from you. And so I just always thought he was a fucking asshole, and I stopped talking to him fucking years ago. And dude, so I can't believe this didn't make it on the news. He was one of those dudes that just like multiple STDs, just man whoring out, popping pills, and he ended up like, you know how people say when you do too many hard drugs, it opens like a fucking door to like some mental illness.
Oh, right.
He ended up being schizophrenic.
Oh, wow.
And like, you know, because of the bad like ideas I have of him. Like Carlos would tell me, he's like, yo, dude, you hear about David? He's like schizophrenic. I'm like, good. You know, good. Not all schizophrenics try to steal your girl.
Yeah,
you know, just to let you know. I've seen Beautiful Mind, you know? Yeah. And so, like, he kept telling me, he told me he visited his house, and it was like, you know, in Ace Ventura when he goes to Ray Finkel's house, there's just like writing on the wall and newspaper clippings. That's how his shit was.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, like he told me like he hadn't showered in like 3 months, and his whole table is covered in cigarette butts. He's got like wrestling dolls taped to his windows, you know? And so, sadly, this just keeps getting more wild. His dad was cool as fuck. He was just like this really jolly, ball-busting Italian dude. I mean, and it was so weird because I sold weed for like 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's the only way I could afford a place. But he would like buy weed from me because he got prostate cancer, and he would just like get high. You know how there's the joke that like your drug dealer never wants to leave and hang out with you?
Yeah, yeah.
It was the opposite. Like he would just cry and be like, "I wish you were my son." Type and I'm like, "All right, whatever. How much more weed do you want? You know, like I'll charge hourly." You know. Well, he got prostate cancer, and then it spread to his kidneys. So, like 2 weeks ago, they're like, "You're gonna die in like a month."
Wow.
And because his son is such a fucking degenerate, schizophrenic, whatever, he's like, I got to sign it over. I got to sign everything over to my brother. He burned his house to the ground.
Oh, man.
The David dude.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, I couldn't believe that shit. Like, he sent me pictures. I never seen anything like it. They boarded up every window. All the fucking gutters are black from the flames, and it just says crime scene. Do not, like, you will be put in jail. I never heard of that shit. Yeah. And like when he told me that he's like schizophrenic and that he set on fire, I'm just picturing him singing Prodigy in the fire. I'm a fire starter. So that's the wild shit that happened to me. And I'm just like, how the fuck isn't that on the news?
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Damn, yeah, that's nuts. You would think it would be.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had there was a fire that happened a mile from my house, and they had that on the news for no reason.
Yeah.
So I was just I don't know, but
yeah, a kid got shot in my neighborhood last week, and that was on the news.
Holy shit!
I wasn't even there at the time. I was.
What neighborhood do you live in?
Humboldt Park.
Okay.
Yeah, I was out of town. My girlfriend texted me and was like, I just heard 11 shots, you know, and I was like, okay. And then she's like, yeah, the cops are like knocking on the door and asking if like I saw anything and shit. Yeah. I was like, oh, damn.
It's funny because of your channel. She's like, I just heard 11 shots. It wasn't you, right?
Yeah.
You weren't filming a video.
I was out of town at the time. But dude, that's one thing, you know, because I've been in Chicago now for 2 years, roughly. Yeah. A little over 2 years.
Where did you grow up?
Nashville.
Oh, okay, cool.
In the country outside of Nashville, but basically that area, like 30 miles outside of Nashville. Went to school, you know, in town in Nashville. But everyone talks about the crime up here, and it's funny because it's like I usually tell people it's overblown because it is kind of to a degree. Yeah. But also, I never witnessed a drive-by shooting until I moved up here.
Yeah.
I right outside of Reed's local. I did the mic there one night, and then got in my car, and I was actually lighting up a cigar. It was the summer, so I had the windows down. I was sitting in my car lighting up a cigar to smoke on the way.
You're gonna get some flashbacks.
And then I just heard a bunch of gunshots right behind me, and I turn around and look. And I just see cars just zipping every different direction. And then there was one car like sitting at that light right there by Reed's that wasn't moving, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what happened here."
That's crazy. Yeah, I got shot at once at that David dude's house in Northlake because me and Carlos, we hung out. Me and Carlos were like these punk rock guys who just went to concerts, and then it was just like all these fucking like cholos, like modern cholos, and it was 4th of July, and I was stoned as hell, and I was like trying to get on this girl that was at the party. And they have those I don't know what they're called, but they're like those redneck out of ground pools with like the
above ground pools.
Yeah.
Out of ground pools.
Yeah, and like so I'm just like I got so stoned that like I was about to panic, but I was just like my face is really hot, so I just kept dipping my face in the pool. And then I look up, and just some motherfucker just like with a sideways hat. It was a white dude. He just points his gun at me and shoots like 4 times, and I just was like, dude, is this like a cartoon? Because he missed every fucking one, And I was just so giddy.
Was he like, you think he was trying to scare you, or was he like, I'm going to kill this motherfucker?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Like and it's I'm trying to write this into a bit because that neighborhood always has some shit going down. Like it's a fucking bad neighborhood. But we called the cops, and we're like, yeah, somebody fucking shot at us. It took them like an hour and a half to show up. Wow. And I had such munchies that I ordered Jimmy John's so fucking fast, so freaky fast, that Jimmy John's showed up before the cops. So then when the cops showed up, they cuffed everybody because they want to check tattoos to make sure it was like not a gang thing.
Oh, right.
And I just like I love fucking with cops. I have nothing against cops. Like I'm really kind of like a center person, but I love like I got out of so many tickets crying on demand because they just feel bad for you. and so I just pulled the whole like I'm just a white kid from the burbs. I don't even know what I'm doing here. And he's like, all right, shut the fuck up. Just stand over there. And he told me to put my sandwich down, and I had such fucking munchies. So I put it on his hood, and then he cuffed me. Dude, I ate the whole sandwich off his fucking hood.
Like, to keep it warm?
Like, yeah, dude. Fucking, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, dude, somewhere out there's a dash cam of me eating a sandwich off a fucking cop's hood.
That's funny. That's on World Star probably.
Mm-hmm. Fuck, man. But
yeah, that's wild. Yeah, I've never been shot at before. Thank God.
It had to be like a snub nose or something, like with bad aim,
Yeah. Unless he was trying to scare you. I don't know. I know that would I used to work security at this really rough apartment complex back in Nashville.
Yeah.
And they would do that shit all the time where they would just like shoot guns up in the air and do different things to like get us to like go to respond to an area so they could do some shit somewhere else or whatever. Who knows? Also, maybe the guy was like so fucked up on meth or something, he was like hallucinating.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky.
I feel bad because like I used to work at this place called C.H. Robinson. Have you ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's a fucking like logistics dispatch company that like so many comics have worked because it's a revolving door.
Oh,
like it's kind of like the last resort after Uber, you know?
Yeah.
Because they hire anybody. And I remember there's a black dude there that I felt so bad for him because like he was like one of those people that grew up in Inglewood, and he's like, I'm trying to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
So he just like he coached like the church's basketball team. So he like moved away from there, but he would still go there to like help the community. And he told me like there were so many times he'd come in like covered in paint because motherfuckers would just go around doing paintball drive-bys.
Oh,
but
weird.
with red paintballs to freak you out, like you just got shot.
Weird.
So, but I knew we were going to talk about getting shot with John Hickok. But
yeah, that seems risky. That's risky for both parties because, like, if someone's shooting to me, I got a gun, I'm gonna shoot back. I don't give a fuck if it's paintball or not.
Yeah, yeah,
If it's like in that kind of situation, like, because you don't know.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. It's now that we got on this topic, like I didn't want to get a gun for the longest fucking time. Just like every white ignorant man, BLM happened, and I was like, I'm paranoid. But no, I worked at that C.H. Robinson. I worked with a guy who was really into guns, and he was trying to talk me. So here's what's funny is like I have like this metal battle vest, with all the band patches and shit. And I think he thought I was Antifa. So he like kept like testing me. He's like, "Yeah, you want to go shooting with me sometime?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do I got to do? Get a FOID card." "Okay, I got it." "Well, now you got to take a hunter safety test." All right, so I did that. And then he's like, "You know what, man? I don't want to be in the woods with the guns alone with you, man. It's like you're going to do something crazy." So
Weird.
but he I forgot why I even mentioned him. I'm fucking my mind's going wild.
Good. But you think about getting a gun, or you got one finally?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's where I got it. Yeah. So before I got a gun, I kind of, I'm all into the like, I'm a Skyrim nerd and into like old Slavic paganism and shit.
Yeah.
So I got a compound bow because there's a hunting Facebook group where these guys, like, if you ever want to go hunting, you pay them a certain amount and they'll take you with. And they'll also like show you the whole like how to field dressing and tanning and all that.
Oh, that's cool.
But it was like way too much money. So I just that guy also, he's like I forgot what his name was, but he lives in Addison, and basically he's an operation engineer in the union. But on the side, he chops up compound bows for anybody. And like I went to his basement, dude. It was awesome. I mean, it was just like it was like 1,000 bows on one side. Then it's like every type of scope you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Then every type of arrow. Like he's like, let me see how much you can pull back. So he modifies it to your strength and everything.
Yeah.
So I forgot what it's called. I haven't used it. It's Matthews or Matheson.
Okay. Sounds familiar.
And I had a little bit of fun with that, but.
They're cool. I shot traditional for a little while. You ever do traditional archery?
Like
recurve and longbow and shit?
I've never tried it, no.
Yeah, they're fun. It's different. Because on a compound, it's like, once you pull it back, then it gets to that point, whatever, where the tension, lets up. But it obviously just gets harder and harder the further,
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to, I don't know, there's different schools of thought. I always kind of shot mine the way my dad does, which is kind of like a compound bow, where you treat it like one, where you pull it all the way back and then you release. But a lot of like real hardcore traditionalists, I think, do the method where you like pull it back and then you like release it while you're still pulling it or something. There's some kind of thing like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's also amazing how accurate you can be with a bow that has no sights. Like I was never good at it, but like people who are really good at it,
yeah.
I mean, they can fucking nail anything. And there's no sights. It's like, you're just aiming with your fucking instincts. It's nuts.
Yeah. That's one thing that I really got excited about having a compound, is that it was one of those things that it just seemed like I was good at instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It was really fucking weird. He gave me a scope that it's like the different colored needles.
Oh yeah.
And so each one is like 20 yards. And there's a range it's called like Blackwell. I don't know if you ever heard of it. I forgot if it's like Palos Hills or something.
Okay.
But it's a range that's there all year round. And I was getting like 2 inches from the bullseye at 50 yards, right the first day.
Awesome.
And then I was like, I don't know if I need to get any better at this,
I can already do that. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. You know the biggest bitch about that is the targets for a compound bow, like the foam.
Mm-hmm.
I like dislocated my thumb trying to pull them out.
Oh yeah, some of them are tough to get out. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a guy there who I was like, that's fucking smart. You know that whole Billy Mays commercial where he slaps the tube or whatever?
Yeah.
So like that's like, it's almost like tar, and he dipped his hammer in there, and then you just use the rubber on the claw hammer.
Interesting.
So
you know what? Now it's be real expensive to get, but the best archery target I've ever used is a bale of cotton.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like there was this range I used to go to with my dad.
Yeah.
And they had these like, you see those big hay bales? It was like that, but cotton. and they had them set up at all these different ranges.
Yeah.
And it was like you could pull it out with 2 fingers. I mean,
Who
just
picks the
slide
cotton?
right out.
Is my question.
Well, it was Tennessee. So.
Yeah.
Depending on how long that range has been there.
So why do you think that was like better than a hay bale? Like, what made it better?
Well, straw, it'll just go right through it. It just doesn't stop it. That's the problem with that. Obviously, straw will come out even easier, but it'll just go right through it.
Yeah. So I was saying that like I just have a security 9 Ruger, you know.
Yeah, those are nice.
And I just got it around because like people are saying, there's riots, and I had there was like a few businesses around me that got broken into, and like somebody got their fucking calf shot off with an Uzi, and the crazy it was a crazy thing because like Daily Herald reports this town Schaumburg, they like found out that there's certain things that the newspaper won't report to keep the housing prices up.
Interesting.
So I was like, that's that why wouldn't that be in the news? That somebody got their legs shot off a block away from me at a liquor store.
I used to do a joke about that, about how they should legalize suppressors because it would help the housing market.
Yeah. Fucking, have you ever shot with a suppressor?
Oh yeah, I've got some.
How like, I know it's not like the movies.
No, it depends on the caliber. A 22 is going to be the closest to what you think of the movie. The sound also depends on the movie. Like they will get how quiet it is wrong and what it sounds like wrong.
Yeah.
It like suppressors sound. It depends on the gun again, but you can on a rifle you can, like an AR or something like that, you can hear the action a little bit. But the actual suppressor, it's more of like, it sounds like what is happening, like the sound that you're hearing. So basically, what a suppressor does is there's kind of 2 main sounds that you get from a bullet. One of them is the crack from breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah,
a suppressor can't do shit about that. So if you want to have it quiet, you've got to get ammo that is below the speed of sound, right? Which is tougher with high-powered rifles, but like 45 ACP is naturally subsonic. 9mm is pretty easy to get subsonic and all that. And then the other sound is when the bullet is leaving the barrel, it's displacing, you're creating all that pressure, right? And it's displacing all that air. And then as it leaves, it breaks that little seal, all that air rushing back in and makes that pop, like a pop gun.
Yeah.
Right. But like a crazy intense version of a pop gun, essentially. And what the suppressor does through these like little chambers, a series of chambers inside the tube, it like slows that process down.
Yeah.
So you still kind of hear like a muffled version of that, right? Does that make sense? So
of the pop?
Yeah. So it's kind of like this kind of like air sound. Like, some people describe it as like a nail gun, or I've almost heard paintball guns that kind of remind me of what a suppressor sounds like. Yeah. If it's subsonic and you've truly gotten it quiet, Like usually when you see a suppressor on a rifle, they're still shooting supersonic ammo. So it's still pretty loud. Like if you're shooting it without ear protection, like it's still going to hurt your ears. But apparently one of the advantages of it's not such a deafening crack, and it also makes it so that like you can't hear it from as far away. And the military uses them largely because you cannot tell as easily where the gunfire is coming from, and they also work as a flash suppressor. So like you'll see like Navy SEALs and stuff use them because they do a lot of operations at night, so it keeps their muzzle flash down. Okay, it's a big advantage of them.
Yeah,
they're fun though.
I never went fucking like I went to a range with my gun like twice.
Yeah,
and then 4 months ago I joined CrossFit, so it's all like Joe Rogan listening bros,
Yeah.
And they my trainer is really awesome. His name's Arnell. I don't think he'll listen to this, but he's like a fucking samurai. Like he's like Asian, and he trains in kinjutsu, where you fight with the wooden katanas,
Oh, interesting.
And he invited me, and we went with like some of the crew at the CrossFit and like his family, and it was fun. It was this pumpkin shooting event. Have you ever heard of that?
I've never heard of an event. No, I've done a lot of pumpkin shooting, but I've never heard of an event.
Yeah. There's like, so I guess, I mean, I think I'm getting this right. Is like, so when farmers sell pumpkins, there's like the baby ones for your desk, and then there's the ones that you put on your porch They're like supposed to be over a basketball or something. So any of the ones that are smaller, they just donate to the shooting thing. And there's like a quarry, and you just destroy them.
Oh,
you know?
that's cool.
And yeah, it was fun because he wants people to go with him. So he's gonna be that guy where he's like, I'm gonna show off all my guns. So he had a Glock, a Luger, a Beretta, a snub nose, and a AR. And dude, the weirdest thing was the snub nose was the scariest because it fucking hurts. He had like a really thin one that's like for a CCL.
Like the recoil.
Yeah. Like it was an auto reloader, and you could feel that thing in your hand. I mean, it was. I felt like I was like catching a rock or like a baseball without a mitt.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those, like, man. Remember one time we did a video on this 454 Casole revolver, and man, with the really hot ammo in that thing. I mean, it's not fun. Like the recoil is so hard that it's not even just about enduring the pain. Like your wrist feels numb after you shoot it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Where
man.
you realize, like, it'd be one thing if it was just about toughing this out, but this is doing damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is not good.
I'm not gonna be able to beat off later. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But
I'll be forced to do the stranger. Oh, let me shoot my 454 Casole about 30 times.
yeah.
I can't feel my hand anymore.
Fuck, man.
I'll tell you a fun one too is the like, you probably never shot a Barrett before, but like a 50 cal BMG, like the 50 BMG, because they have
That's like on top of the Hummers.
well, there's like the machine gun version
Okay.
of it, and then they have a rifle version of it.
Okay.
Which the rifle is like way louder because it has this muzzle brake on it, which like kind of intense. It helps with the recoil and everything.
Is that thing that looks like a cube?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And it has these like vents on the side where it's like, you know, it's basically like instead of the gas is all escaping in the same direction all at once, it forces them down certain channels basically.
Yeah.
And you can use that to create like a back pressure that makes the gun like have less recoil and less like muzzle rise and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of important for like a rifle that shoots a caliber like that huge. But the consequence of it is that it like gives you a little minor concussion every time you shoot it.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
I remember when I first got it, I was excited about it, and I fired it a bunch of times, and my friends fired it a bunch of times. And I swear to God, like I was like just like slightly like confused like all day. Just a little bit. I just didn't feel right. You know, I was just like,
Man.
this is weird.
Fuck, dude. Yeah, the only other cool thing at that pumpkin thing, they had those Civil War reenactment dorks there.
Oh shit!
And they had
a cannon.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man,
They had
that's
a
awesome.
fucking real cannon. I was pissed off because I thought they were gonna have the like the actual ball they shoot, but it was just like, you know.
What they shot blanks out of it?
Yeah. And that thing was scary, dude. Like you could feel it in your heart, like the recoil or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
There was this event I used to go to. They unfortunately, tragically stopped doing it. I used to go to all the time with my dad. Called It's called the Knob Creek Machine Gun Shoot, and it was in near Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And they had this big range, sort of attached to Fort Knox military base, you know, where they have all the gold and everything.
Yeah.
And they would have this huge fucking complex, and they would have this biannual shoot, and they would have a line of just guys with tables that have full of machine guns, right? And then like every so often, like every like 2 hours or something like that, they would shoot, and it would just be like it sounded like a war basically. And they would have fucking these canisters out there on the range that were some sort of concoction they came up with. It was like gas, diesel fuel, and something else.
Yeah.
You know, I think it was like the same shit they used in the movies for like those big cool explosions.
Yeah.
And they would put flares on them, so when they would hit it, it would go kaboom, and it'd be this giant fireball, you know, that would go up like mushroom cloud and shit.
Yeah.
You'd feel the heat, you know. It was like one of those deals where like you would feel the heat from it before you heard the sound. You know, like, I mean, dude, insane. But yeah, they had an artillery cannon, like an artillery, like, I mean, I guess technically all cannons are artillery, but I mean, like, you know, you have those regular field cannons, like Civil War, and then you have those, you know, they're like, I don't know, like this big around.
Yeah.
But then you have the ones that are like this big around.
Yeah.
It was like one of those.
Wow.
And dude, when that shit would go off, you could be so far away from it, and exactly what you're talking about. It was like
Yeah.
you know.
Because that was my first time at a range that had like machine guns. I had a panic attack at first because I had the plugs in. I had the the outside muffs, whatever, and dude, it was so funny because like I'm such a goofy fucking guy. I was telling my trainer, I'm just like, yo, do they sell earmuffs there? He's like, yeah, they sell earmuffs, Phil. Nice pink fuzzy ones just for you. It's fucking ear protection, you bitch. And like I remember when I first went in there, I felt like that guy in like a war movie that's like, I'm not supposed to be here. This is too much. So, but
Got you fired up though a little bit, right?
Yeah. No, I got used to it after a while. Honestly, like after 3 hours, I was like, dude, can we fucking like put a Roomba out there, like a moving target, But
dude, that's the thing they can't capture in the movies, like how it really feels.
Yeah, dude.
That shit's awesome.
It's funny that that nut job that I worked at CHR, this guy. Let me put it this way: when January 6th happened, I was immediately the first thing I thought. I was looking for him in there.
Okay.
That's because this guy was like, I said this before on this podcast, but he seemed like a yuppie white kid, just like one of those guys that like a Frasier extra, that would tie his sweater around his neck type shit.
Oh yeah.
You would have never guessed he's like into guns and something.
Yeah.
And I only talked to him because in my department it was like 20 black ladies that all lived from the same neighborhood, and they like, you're not from my neighborhood, like I'm not gonna fucking talk to you.
Yeah.
So I talked to him, and he was like trying to get me to go shooting with him and everything, and he would tell me all this like random. He's like, yeah, you can have a real pipe bomb if you get it stamped by the ATF. I'm like, thank you, yeah, for that information, And then like he'd walk by again, and he's like, you could drive a real tank as long as it's got rubber tread. I'm like, well, fuck, parallel parking is gonna be a bitch, and then he told me, like, he wanted to take me hunting on his land. Apparently, he had a guy that let him hunt for free because his sheep would get attacked by coyotes, and he's like, because coyotes are a rodent.
Yeah.
He's like, you could fucking shank him to death with a Rambo knife, like, and he told me he used to like set up a barrel of tannerite, shock them, and then stab them to death. like it's nuts,
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I'm glad I never really I'm glad he didn't want to hang out with me,
Yes.
But because I was trying to I know this is so fucking artsy, but like because I'm like in the metal and music and stuff, I was trying to shoot some coyotes to make like coyote hoodies. Yeah. And I ended up just buying a skin from a hunter on Craigslist that he did real bad. It was pretty fleshy, but it was good enough to get the point across. So
that's awesome. You ever you've been to like a lot of shows and stuff?
Concerts?
But yeah.
Oh fuck yeah,
dude. What would you say? Because like I always tell people, like, go if you're a fan of something, go see it live because you don't know how long it's gonna be available to see. Right? What do you think is like? What is the most like thing that you've like seen that like for example, I saw ZZ Top when it was before fucking Dusty died. You know? Like what is a thing like that where you've seen that just like not possible anymore that you think is the one that you like cherish the most?
As far as like how you mean that, like you kind of can't see.
Yeah,
anymore?
Like I saw Norm live. Like
probably the band Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like the progressive rock band. I like them a lot. Like I listen to a lot. I listen from like black metal to like trap house rap to it's just all over the place. But that one I cherish because they had like a last surprise announcement show, and it was at House of Blues, and I went because now all they play is fucking arenas. I think they're doing their last tour ever.
Oh wow.
And before, like, so they, this is so fucking sensitive musician drama, but I forgot the names, but I think the guitarist is Billy something. I don't know. But anyways, point is the guitarist and the singer didn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
So now even for that last Yes tour,
Right.
it's two different Yeses. They're both going on tour under the same name.
Oh, weird.
It's fucking stupid as hell.
That's so weird.
So when I saw them, it was the both of them, and to be in such a small venue,
Yeah.
like I'm kind of sad because I don't have. I think I have like 15,000 subscribers on my YouTube, and it's because of I used to tape every concert I went to.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and I didn't have like back then they didn't have smartphones, so I
Yeah.
didn't bring a camera to that show. I wish I
Damn.
would have.
Wow. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I wish I'd seen Pantera before Dime was killed.
I saw Pantera when I was right after 8th grade.
Oh, really?
Fuck yeah.
So this would have been what tour? The
2000 Ozfest.
Reinventing the Steel.
Reinventing
tour.
the Steel, yep. That was the show that they set the field on fire in Tinley Park.
Oh shit!
I don't know if you ever seen that live clip.
Is that the one? So it was part of Ozfest.
Yeah.
And is it the one where like I remember there's one because my favorite version of Primal Concrete Sledge is on YouTube and it's from Ozfest, and I know there's a scene where you can see like some random fires like out there in the audience.
Yeah, that's
is it. That you were at that?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
shit, that's insane.
Yeah. It's because it's funny because I
Zach Wilde came out on stage with his dog.
Yeah.
Dude, you were there for that?
Yeah.
Shit, dude. Do you know how many fucking drunken nights I have this. Whenever I get fucked up with people like at my place, my basement,
Yeah.
I always end up putting on these certain YouTube videos.
Yeah.
There's like 5 or 6 that always get played.
Yeah.
If I'm drunk. And one of them is that version of Primal Concrete Sledge.
Yeah.
Because Dime like puts these little accents on it.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if you've seen you probably been so long you wouldn't remember, but like you've seen the video recently. But there's like this like right before like that kind of like breakdown part, there's these like little
He makes it's real high pitched.
yeah, there's like little nuances he does that are not in the original like album version that I fucking love so much. It's just so cool. And then Zach Wilde comes out at the end of it and he like puts his guitar on Zach.
Yeah.
And then Zach is playing and then Dime is like feeding him a beer and shit. It's just like the most badass shit. And if you watch the full version of it where the whole 30-minute set that has the end, right? The last song is Cowboys from Hell, and Dime comes out with the little hat on.
Yeah.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah, the Confederate hat. Yeah.
And then Phil does this shit that I fucking love. It gives me chills every time I see it. And at the end, he's just like, he says some shit where he's like, we're the best. Give it up for us. We're great. Oh, yeah, we're great. We're the kings of metal or whatever. And then he goes, if we're the kings of metal, then God is about to walk out on this stage. And he goes, Z. And everyone started chanting. I was like, that's the most badass shit ever.
Yeah.
That's so cool you were there.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, because I was a little kid, I don't fucking remember it. But the one thing I do remember that was pissing me off, I think that was like the peak of Phil's like addiction.
Okay.
So he just kept fucking, because he had, remember, that was like that period where he had the longest beard, the longest hair, and he just kept like sitting down during the whole set. That's what I remember. I was like every song was like, you know, like Cemetery Gates. I love, you know, and he's just, you know, it's
there's some I could see that. There's some funny shit or some cool shit though from that era where like I know there's a YouTube video of Floods, one of the rare live times they played it live back in the day.
Yeah.
And there's like a little break where he has a chance to say something. I think it was like right before the solo.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Smoke heroin." It cracks me. It makes me laugh every time.
Did he Zeke Kyle after that?
Not in that one.
Yeah. He Zeke Kyle and he shot up into it, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But
that's why it did. His hand went up because it was just so light.
Yeah. No, so you know what's funny is like I loved Pantera when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But I like kind of shed on them the older I got. Just because like I don't know, man, like I feel like that guitar tone to me was so, I don't know how to explain it, just so it sounds like the Power Rangers theme song to me. It's so fucking high pitched. Like not even the heavy parts. It's just like all the highs are up,
Yeah.
and the mids,
Yeah,
and then the
scoop the
lows
mids,
are all the
yeah.
way down. So I don't know how to explain it. I just kind of felt I shit on I call out things that like I feel like that's too much
Yeah, yeah.
recognition. Like I liked Pantera. I didn't think they were the best, but it was like shit like when people say like Kiss is the best.
Yeah, yeah.
Or fucking like when Prince died. Oh, suddenly everybody loves him.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, what are you talking? I'm just
Yeah.
gonna check if it's recording still, But yeah,
I was never the biggest Kiss guy, but I will say, like, with Pantera, there's no one doing that type of metal that I like more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Metallica, I would still say Metallica, I think, was the best metal band just for their longevity and I mean, dude, you go back and if you really like go back and listen to Master of Puppets again and try to like put yourself in 1986, and just, maybe you ever do that with shit you've heard a million times?
Yeah.
You try to like do your best to listen to it like with fresh ears.
Yeah.
To be, you know what I mean, and really just sit back and be like, how good is this really? And then you listen to it. Like whenever I do that with like Master of Puppets, I'm like, good God, this is insane. How fucking good this actually is.
Yeah.
But I still feel like Pantera though was doing something really special. I don't know. I fucking love Pantera. I love that. I mean, Dime was insane. He was such a good guitar player. In my opinion. Also, I'm from the South. That's the thing is like,
yeah.
Pantera hits like, they're more popular with people from the South because it's like they were doing Southern metal, and there's something in their tone that connects with like people from the South in the same way that like, people that aren't from the South may not understand Skynyrd on the level that like people from the South do. You know what I mean? It's,
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just certain. It's weird how like there's a thing to Southern music where it's like, you know what I mean? It's subtle, but there's differences that hit you in a way that you'd have to almost understand. I feel like you have to be from the South to really get it.
Yeah, it's almost like who Billy Strings is.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Pantera is almost like the distorted version of that.
Okay, I don't know his stuff too well, but
he's like a really fast,
like
almost
really
like he sounds like a banjo player, but he's playing on an acoustic guitar. So it's just like it's Dimebag.
Yeah.
But it's not distorted. You know? So that's what I think. Maybe that's kind of like what it.
What I liked about like Dimebag's, and again, you know way more about guitar than I do, but what I like about what his guitar playing, if I were to describe what I like about it the most, is there's almost like this like drunken mastery to me, where it's like on one level it's like he's like sloppily hitting all the like perfect notes to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what to me where it's like I'll listen to his shit and it's like he's just sloppily like playing around, but then somehow just like occasionally like nailing the most insane like tone and note at the perfect time.
I could see that
kind of thing.
He's always one thing that separates them too is like, because they always talk about what is it, like the four horsemen of metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pantera seems like they're having the most fun on stage.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Like you see, like when I see like Kirk Hammett,
right?
I'm like, wow, that's really good guitar playing. But then you hear his interview and then see him on stage again, and you're like, he's kind of a prima donna.
Yeah, for sure.
I started off my
James Hetfield though, dude. You've seen Metallica live?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
When you see Metallica live, you really appreciate like how insanely good of a guitar player James Hetfield is. I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's not a lead player.
Mm-hmm.
But like, dude, I've seen him multiple times recently. I saw him when they came to Soldier Field here not too long ago, and it's like when you see him live, you really appreciate it because he'll do like little tiny, itty bitty, little tiny nuances to the riffs and stuff, and it's so fucking insanely tight.
Yeah,
I mean that motherfucker, dude, it's unreal. Like he is the riff master, I think.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Power Trip?
I know that name, but I don't.
I think you would fucking love them.
All right.
They're thrash, and it sucks because I saw their last show before they exploded. It was at Reggie's Rock Club.
Oh wow!
And it was sold out. It was claustrophobic as fuck at Reggie's.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I forgot who they opened for, but they're playing United Center. And then the year after that, the singer died.
Oh, that's brutal.
But
it's like Death. You're into that
yeah,
band?
Yeah. I always get Death and Venom mixed up.
Oh,
for some
right,
reason.
yeah.
But
Death is cool.
But yeah, so my kind of little metal flex is like my first album I ever had was Guns N' Roses. Well, like hard rock, Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion. I stole it from my aunt. And then my first album that I bought with my allowance, I was in like 6th grade. I bought Megadeth, Rust in Peace.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, holy fuck. Because I bought it from a used CD store.
Yeah.
So, like used places, they're always going to have like the best shit there.
Yeah.
So, because that's what like is everybody like overbuys, and that album to me is
Dude, Dave Mustaine is so like incredible. It's so technically proficient. Like, if there was, there's no universe where it could have worked. If there's parallel universes, there's no universe where James and Dave get along.
Yeah.
There just isn't one. I don't think.
Yeah.
But if somehow that could have happened, their skills complement each other so perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, Dave taught James how to play guitar, but James' style that he developed on his own, being such an incredibly tight, just heavy in your face riff writer.
Yeah.
And then that compared with Dave's playing, I mean, and if Cliff never died, I mean, that would have been even better, already being one of the best.
I would almost say there's no universe that anybody would get along with Dave Mustaine.
That's probably true. Yeah,
because you know what? I mean, I don't know. I kind of have a bias because I grew up with a shit ton of alcoholics that I had to fight, like from a broken home and shit.
Yeah.
And Dave, like, he's talented as fuck,
but a real shithead.
I love seeing him get angry. Like I remember seeing him on you see him when he was on Rogan?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I love there's a moment, like I'm listening to that episode because I was a welder for 15 years. So when you weld, you're stuck in a cubicle because the welders flash. So I'm listening to podcasts all day, and I'm listening to this podcast with Rogan and Dave, and I'm like, it's gonna happen. He's gonna snap. He's gonna get angry, and it happened because they were talking about something. I forgot what I think they were talking.
I vaguely remember this.
Yeah, he was talking about like what jujitsu Jimmy trained, and Rogan was like, I don't know if that's right. Can you look that up, Jamie? And then right there he's like, what is this? Like fact check Dave Day?
Oh right, yeah.
Like, dude,
it's like,
it happened.
Yeah. Joe clearly didn't know. Like, they don't play that shit.
Yeah, he's the first person I learned don't love your heroes, because I met him in 8th grade at Rolling Stones Records. It's on Harlem and Irving in Chicago.
Okay.
That was where I grew up, and Megadeth had come out with Capital Punishment, which is like their best of whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember they had these rules. They're like, you have to buy this record because this is the only record they're signing. And I'm like, dude, I'm in fucking 8th grade. I'm like, he's not gonna be mean to a little kid.
Yeah.
And dude, I put down the Rust in Peace, and he looks up at me. He's like, and he signs it. And he's like, hey kid, next time read the fucking rules. And like, I'm like, yeah, okay, never looking up to that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing though. Like, if you're a rock star, it's you get to be the asshole that you always wanted to be. If you are that guy, no one can tell you shit.
Yeah.
And there's something, I don't know, there's something kind of cool about that in a way where I almost like, I give those people like some leeway, even the athletes, like people who achieve on such a crazy high level.
Yeah.
It depends on if we're talking about them being a dick versus them like doing something bad.
Yeah.
That's different, but I mean, as far as them just like being kind of a dick, it's like, yeah, I mean, you don't owe anyone shit.
Yeah,
kind of. But also, you want to think that they'll be like cool when you meet them too.
Yeah.
So, I get what you mean. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you kind of want your rock stars in some ways to be like dicks that just like get drunk and fuck bitches and and just are incredible at what they do.
Have you ever listened to that Injustice for Jason?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah. That shit's fucking...
Dude, yeah, the way they treated Jason was brutal.
Yeah.
But...
And I feel like that was all Lars.
Might have been. Yeah.
You know, because he's Lars seemed like he's like
He's the prima donna of the group for sure.
Yeah, where you're like, you got to get hazed because this is what we do or some shit. But
yeah. Also, James, I know, was an asshole. So I got to talk to this guy. His name is Stuart Taylor, and he was Dimebag's friend growing up. Do you know about this guy?
No.
Okay. So the way this happened was there's these photos, you can find them on the internet, of Dime and James together hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's only photos of them together that you can find. They're at Dime's house. They're in his room, and there's like 5 or 6 of them, and James is like playing one of his guitars, and they're like looking at these like speakers and shit, whatever. And I posted them on Instagram because I was like, check this out, this is cool. And then someone was like, Stuart took those or whatever. And I was like, oh, and then he like got tagged in it, so he chimed in, and then I started messaging him. We started talking a little bit, and then I talked to him on the phone. Dude, he told me so many cool stories that I cannot say on the podcast.
Okay.
I will say this though, an interesting background if anyone's listening that's familiar with those photos. He told me that, dude, I talked to him several times for a period of time. I haven't talked to him in a while. But he had me calling Dimebag Daryl, just calling him Daryl for a bit because that's what he called him. It's like, 'cause he knew him as his friend.
Yeah.
Because he didn't call him Dimebag, obviously. He called him Daryl.
Yeah.
And whenever he referred to Vinnie Paul, he called him Vince. So it'd be like Daryl and Vince. And then for a minute, I started doing that because that was in my head from him,
Yeah.
But he would be like, Daryl's, man, he was kind of gross, man. Like, if you look in those photos, look on the wall behind him. There's nothing but boogers on the wall. And sure enough, dude, if you go and look at that photo, you realize that like that's what that is. It's just nothing but he had a booger collection on his fucking wall in his bedroom.
God.
Yeah.
I've worked at a few welding shops like that where you just farmers blow on the wall, Yeah. Like one wall is all titty porn to jag off in the bathroom too, and then one wall is all boogers. Like,
damn, animals. Yeah, he told me. I'll tell you once we stop the podcast why Metallica was there. I don't want to say that on the podcast.
No, it's all good.
But he told me some interesting story. But the only reason I brought that up though was he was there that day. Obviously, took the photos.
Yeah.
And these photos were, I don't know exactly the date, but it looks, based on how James looks, it looks to be like 85 or something ish around that time period. Kind of interesting because like Pantera was not shit then. They were still doing like hair metal shit, and Metallica was like, I think at that point started to like really become something.
Yeah.
But I guess it was still a small enough community and whatever, and maybe whatever. Like Dime had a good reputation, I think, even then, that early on.
Yeah.
But he was in the car with them that day, and they were riding doing somewhere, and there was someone else hanging out with them that was like already like an obsessive fan of like Metallica. You know? And he was like with them. And he said that he was like fanboying out so much over James that James got pissed off and spit in the guy's face, stole his shoe, and threw it out the window. And he was like, man, James was an asshole back then.
So I'll tell you a funny fucking story that happened to me, but considering you're from the South, have you ever listened to I Hate God?
I'm familiar with them, but no.
Okay.
Not really.
It's called like sludge metal. They
used to open for Pantera back in the day.
Yeah.
You see Phil would always be wearing like their shirts and shit back in the day.
Well, Phil was from New Orleans,
right.
And that's all that New Orleans like heroin, meth.
Yeah, like Crowbar. I'm really into Crowbar.
Yeah. So here's what's funny. I might have told this before, but I went to this is like my little claim to fame, but I used to play like. So I had a band that I played metal, but then I had a band that I played like alternative. I don't know if you know what shoegaze is.
Mm-mm.
It's like dreamy music with a chick singer. I can't explain. It's almost like know the Cranberries.
Oh right, okay,
like that stuff. And my friend, his name's Perry. He's originally from New York, and he moved here because him and his wife split up. Then they moved back in for the kid, and then the kid got older, so he moved back to New York. But Perry. He used to be in all these hardcore punk bands out in New York, and Perry's actually best friends with Phil. Like, still every party,
really?
Phil goes to their parties and shit.
Oh, wow.
And so Perry invited me because we were gonna play a show together with our like little chick shoegaze bands.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And I go to his party. He's like, yeah, we're barbecuing, whatever. And I was already weirded out because I was like, this is your wife, right? I didn't know they were split because she kept hitting on me. but we're at this party and there's this. I was just telling this story about how I'm a huge. I've been a troll 20 years before that word came up.
Yeah.
I always like pulled fucking pranks. I'm the jackass generation.
Yeah.
So I'm telling this story at this party, and like long story short, what happened is it was the first time I was going to smoke weed in like freshman year of high school, and I was with my best friend John, and then my other friend Billy. He had this dad that kind of was like, "Why aren't you guys working full time? You bunch of faggots. What do you do?" You know?
Yeah.
And so we had to wait for Billy to get out of work on a Saturday. So we bought the weed, and I was like, "Yo, John, like let's try this weed before Bill shows," you know, and Billy was like he's like, no man, Bill's gonna find out. I'm like, no, dude, let's just try it. And we go to this like I hung out at the woods my entire fucking childhood because I grew up around a forest preserve, Cub Scouts. I loved having fires and shit. So we go to these woods and we start getting high, and I see like like every woods has like a pit area where all the bums go, and I see this fucking dead deer, and then I see a spray can. The kind that they spray for where the gas line is.
Oh, okay. What's it shoot out? Like, what do you mean spray before the gas line is? Like to see if it's leaking or not? Like
no. Like where they spray the grass with the
so it's like spray paint, but it's like for that. Yeah, gotcha.
It's I think it's the same shit they spray like a football field with.
Okay, gotcha.
But it's like safety orange or safety red.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I look at John and I'm like high and I'm like in troll mode. I'm like, bro, we're going to fuck with Billy. He's like, what do you mean? So in this fire pit, I drew like this 10-foot fucking radius pentagram. And then I dragged this dead deer in the middle of it. And then I go, John, we're going to come back here with Bill. We're going to pretend like we didn't get high, and we're going to see how freaked out he gets. And, dude,
that's good, clean fun right there.
Yeah. And I remember it was so gross because, like, the woods we were at, there was this road where deer would always get hit. So, and people would just throw it on the side. So it was there for a while. So, like, while I'm trying to pull it, like, the skin's peeling off the leg, And so then we did it. Like, we're like, yeah, Bill, what the fuck? And he's freaking out. He's like, yeah, we should get, like, the football team to come because there's devil worshippers here or something. And then I told him, like, nah, man, I did it. And he got freaked out. And I'm telling this story at this party. The singer from I Hate God was there, Mike Williams. Do you remember what happened to him? He was in a fucked up mindset at the time at the party because when it was around the time Hurricane Katrina happened.
Right.
And what happened is he booked out of there. Then somebody got murdered at his house. Like there are all these people looting houses. So the two looters came to his house, and one of them killed the other one.
Yeah.
And then he got charged with the murder.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, he didn't get charged, but they put him in jail so that he could
was
go
a suspect. Yeah.
Yeah, so that they could go to trial. So he was like in a bad mind, and I'm telling this story, and he's just like, that's the most fucked up fucking story I ever heard about the deer thing. I'm like, yeah, man. I freaked out the I Hate God guy, and he funny thing is he gave me his number, and I still prank call him once in a while. Like I'll prank call him with those automated, like it's like this Chinese food restaurant, you don't pay, like oh man, it's but
damn, that's funny.
Well, sorry, I'm not keeping track. Do you know what time it is?
Oh.
Because I don't want you to be late.
Oh, we're good.
What time is it?
8:09.
8:09. Okay, yeah. Because I wanted to ask you. So, like, did you start doing YouTube or comedy first?
YouTube, way before.
Way before.
So basically, like, I'll give you the quick story of how it transpired. I grew up shooting. My dad was a competition shooter and had a shooting range on our place where I grew up. Like, literally grew up in a log cabin, like in the woods, like the whole 9 yards
by Nashville.
Yeah, like 30 miles outside of Nashville, basically. And, he had a shooting range set up there, before I was even born because he was a competition shooter. And
so you and your dad are close.
Yeah. And so I grew up shooting, but I grew up in it to the point where like I didn't even appreciate it. Like I've always liked guns, obviously, I love guns, but I didn't like get into it later in life, so I wasn't like obsessed in the same way that some people get obsessed when they like discover something. It's like it's just always been a part of my life, kind of thing, and almost like took it for granted to a certain degree. And when I went and moved off to go to college, I realized like from talking to other people that like, oh, I kind of had like a weird, like I learned from other people that that was kind of unique. So it made me appreciate how I grew up for the first time, like being around other people who thought it was like weird,
Yeah.
And so I was in college and I kind of missed it. So I started like going on YouTube and looking at videos of like guns and like people shooting guns and stuff. And it kind of gave me the thought, like, all this shit sucks, because we're talking like 2007, 2008. I was like, all this shit sucks. Like, this is like they're just like videos of people like shooting guns from the side. You can't see like the target they're shooting at. Where I just was like, this is all like a lot of this footage is like kind of bullshit.
What year was this?
This would have been like I said, like 2007, 2008, like around in there.
And what college did you go to?
I went to this school in East Tennessee called Carson Newman.
Okay.
And so
that's weird though. That even in Nashville, people would think that's weird. Because I know here in the city, people will fucking like stare you down just for carrying like a pocket knife.
Yeah. It's I mean, I was out. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty unique to have a shooting, even in Tennessee. You have a shooting range like at your house. Like not a lot of people had that. So anyways, I discovered YouTube because of that, because I kind of missed home. It was like a little bit of a homesick kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then my dad's a teacher, and then it was like this perfect storm of a thing that came together. He was teaching this book called Shane, which was made into a movie. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a Western.
No.
It's like an old-timey Western movie, but it was originally a book, and he was teaching that book in his class.
That's fucking awesome.
So he got out a bunch of his cowboy guns, because he's like a big collector of like antique guns and stuff, as well as a competition shooter, and he made a little video showing those guns off and everything, and to show his class so they'd see what the real guns are like being shot, right?
Yeah.
And he sent it to me to see what I thought about it. So it's like right at that time he sends me this video, and it was just like bing, a light bulb goes off. I was like, this is a million times better than everything I've been seeing on YouTube. So I'm like telling him about all the stuff I'm seeing on YouTube. It's like, I was like, you could do way better than this. You got to try it or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, maybe I will. I don't know. And then at one point he like called me. He's like, I made a couple of videos. I was like, okay. And he sent them to me. And I remember being like, yeah, it's not bad. And it was kind of like, just kind of just like a fucking around thing. I drop out of college. I'm living at home again. And then I can't like find a job. It's like the worst part of that economic thing or whatever. Also, I was just being a piece of lazy piece of shit.
Fucking
also.
09.
Yeah.
Housing. Yeah.
Yeah, all that. And so we were just like making those videos for fun, because I had nothing better to do at the time. And then it just sort of caught on.
Yeah.
And then I started working again or whatever. And then like 2 or 3 years later, it was like, oh, this is like enough money is coming in where we could like do this full time. I quit my job. He quit teaching. And then we just did that full time. And so we kind of like really got started in like 2008. And then it became a full-time job in like 2012-ish.
Can I ask, like, around that time, you don't have to share if you don't want, but like when you started out, what are you pulling in?
Well, what do you mean? I mean, at first it was like, beer money. you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Because the thing is, like, when we first got,
it's better than having an hourly job, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a while before it was like 3 or 4 years of doing it before I could like do just that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like when it first, so like they had just launched, I think, their like partner program, where they were paying like video creators. And I remember like, I think the first check we ever got from it was like $160 or something like that, which to us was like, oh shit, like that's pretty cool. We just fucking made these videos and they sent us like money, that's pretty cool.
And that was at like how many subscribers?
That was like, I think maybe 500 or 1,000 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, because the thing is, we got started so early. It's like YouTube was new.
Yeah.
I remember one time, memory always stuck in my head. I remember telling someone once, it's like, yeah, me and my dad, we've been making these videos, and it's been like going pretty well. And he was like, how many subscribers do you have? And I was like, 12,000. He goes, what the fuck? 12,000? Like, that was crazy to him.
Yeah.
Which is like, now it's not as big of a deal, but back then there was a time when that was like insane. Like I can't believe I know someone that has 12,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Now we've got almost 8 million. We're just shy of 8 million.
Yeah.
But
That's fucking amazing, dude.
yeah, it's pretty wild. But it's been but our growth was like we were growing with YouTube.
Yeah.
Because we got started so early. A lot of people, the experiences we lost on most people is like getting into it even a couple of years after we did. It's like you're coming into it already knowing it's like a thing and a way to make money, and you're like trying to be like these professional creators that you're seeing. But that didn't even exist when we started. You know? There was no thought of that. It was like putting shit on MySpace or something. You know what I mean? It was like, we didn't even know it could make money. And then we started making some money. It was like, oh, this would be kind of fun. And even at that point, we had no idea it could be a career. And then it just sort of happened. And we were like, wow, okay.
That's really fucking cool, dude.
Yeah.
What at that time, like, because you said it was like beer money, what were you doing for work?
Well, initially nothing. And then I started doing security at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing security and stuff. And
how old are you?
36.
Oh, okay. I'm 37. I can't believe it.
Okay.
Yeah, because that same shit fucking happened where I graduated. You can't find shit anywhere.
Yeah.
Like I literally spent like 3 days where like day 1 was like make your resume fucking perfect. Day 2 was send out like 400 fucking applications.
Yeah.
And then you just sit around and do nothing.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to a community college and I literally took every fucking thing I could to try and get a job. I took a security guard certificate, but I quit because I hated that you had to pay like another $400 for each thing that you carry.
Yeah.
You know?
It's bullshit, dude. It's such a shit job.
Yeah.
And then you got all these liability issues and stuff like that.
And a lot of the jobs is like Western Union in the hood, you know?
Dude, yeah.
So
yeah, it's brutal. It's always, dude. I worked,
and that's what got me into welding because that was the first thing. Like I did the security, and
like
then
good money in that shit.
It's
well, from what I've heard at least.
Yeah, it's kind of a myth now, honestly.
Okay.
Like I shit on it a lot, but it's just I can't explain it. It's to put it short, you know, all the guys that are like I make $70 an hour, you're getting $20 in your pocket.
Yeah.
Or at the max maybe like 30, 40 in your pocket, and that's after being in it for years.
Oh, right.
I was a temp for 10 years, and then I was in the union for 5, and I couldn't take it because, I mean, 90% of your check goes to the hall, the school, and all that. But anyways,
you know what I've always thought, and I've had this idea for like 10 years. I've always thought if I had to do my life over again, I didn't have this sweet YouTube gig or whatever. I wasn't doing comedy or any of that kind of shit. I just wanted like a relatively like simple life.
Yeah.
One where I didn't have some dream I was pursuing or whatever.
Yeah.
I would love to get certified to operate like the heavy construction equipment.
Yeah,
like the big, I don't know what you call them, but the big fucking thing. All the big shit.
The crane and the scooper, yeah.
Yeah, because like that seems fun. You make a pretty good living doing that. Yeah. And your like work environment changes.
Yeah.
You're not like showing up at the same fucking office all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? I always thought like I could be happy with that.
You know? Yeah. It's operation engineers.
Okay, yeah.
That's what the guy who was selling the bows was doing.
Oh, okay.
But
probably a tougher gig to get into than it seems, I would imagine. But
yeah, I don't know. The biggest thing with welding, my problem, like I have sleep epilepsy. I get seizures in my sleep. I haven't had one in 10 years because it's controlled on pills. But also, I was just bitching about this to a comedian at a mic that like a lot of comedians will be like, man, why don't you stick around? Why don't you hang around? I'm like, because dude, if I have sleep deprivation, like I used to immediately get seizures if I had sleep deprivation.
Oh, wow.
Now it's like if I stay out late, like to just hang out with people, I will be a monster the next day because it's like my brain is like the pills are trying to hold back the seizures, so I'm just like grumpy as fuck, mood swings and shit. So that's why with welding, dude, every welding job is like the latest you'll start is at like 6 or 7 a.m. and I'm like, dude, I can't fucking do that. Like make. You know, they have all these hats, fucking, you know, whatever, make America healthy again, make America great again. I'm like, dude, make a 9 to 5 again. Oh, right. You know, because nobody fucking works 9 to 5 anymore, you know? Yeah. If I found, like, I work at a carpet shop now because it's a mile from my house. It's a family-owned business. I fucking love them. They love comedy, so we bust each other's balls all day. It's an old Italian family. But, like, I would still weld if it was 9 to 5.
Yeah.
You know, but
Dude, if I could pick, if I was gonna have a 9 to 5 style job of like working Monday through Friday, dude, I think the best fucking hours would be like 11 to 7.
yeah,
That would be sweet.
it is.
Because you could kind of go out any night you wanted to. If you were going to go out, like, you know, because even if I'm like out drinking till like 2 or 3 a.m., I'm
Yeah.
still going to be up at least by 8 or 9.
I had one fucking job that I wish I would still have. That was fucking. It was a mile in the other direction. It was a company that basically what they did is like OSHA regulations are different in U.S. than they are in Europe. So they'd ship these Japanese like huge factory machines, you know, like a hopper or like a conveyor, and you just unload them and you hook up the electricity for like a safety button. So you basically safety certify them, and that was 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And you listen to podcasts all day. You're hooking up
Nice.
wires all day. My job was to just box them again with a nail gun. So, but I went into some shit. My whole family died off in 2020.
Yeah.
5 fucking members in 1 year, and I lost it. Like I wasn't
damn.
showing up to work. I was depressed.
Jeez.
But yeah, man, no,
Jobs where you can like consume like podcasts and shit, or because security was like that.
yeah,
For me, I used to do a fucking 12-hour. My last security gig was at an impound lot, and it was like the government impound lot in Nashville. And I used to do a 12-hour shift.
yeah,
And I remember it'd just be me, and it was overnight. It'd be 7 to 7.
okay,
It's like 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Brutal long shift, but I didn't have to do shit.
yeah,
But I had computers where I could get on the internet, and that was the first time I realized like you could get bored of the internet.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can literally run out of things where you're just like, I can't think of anything I want to fucking look at or do on this computer.
Yeah, dude. When I did that, that logistics job, the dispatch or whatever, that was the only office job I've ever had. Because I was like, dude, I've been welding for so long, and I got laid off. I was like, I may as well put this college degree to use because I went to Eastern Illinois.
Okay.
I was like, let's see where this takes me, and I realized real quick, I think college is a fucking scam.
Yeah.
Like
unless you're going to be like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. I think
like
you're
a
right.
specialist. Yeah. That all that prerequisite bullshit. Like I don't want to fucking go to college and learn high school math all over.
And also, you can learn anything from the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Literally anything, except for, I mean, like I said, some things like you don't want a surgeon that learned how to do it from YouTube. You know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
you know what's fucking crazy? So my job before this, I was a manager at a Jiffy Lube in the hood, and during lockdown I have a stepkid, and his grandma really here, let me see. I might have I don't know where I put my lighter. Let me see. Oh, I got it right here. Here you go.
oh, cool, thanks.
But yeah, so I was my stepkid, his grandma bought him an Oculus. Have you ever used one of those? You know what that is?
I pick up the microphone. It's the VR thing, right?
Yeah.
I never used it. No.
Yeah, so I fucked around with it during lockdown, and they had all these cool simulator games, like a surgeon simulator and shit. Bro, I'm telling you, I learned more from the mechanic simulator on the Oculus than at Jiffy Lube about cars. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Because there's like they actually like they have like the flight simulator that they have you take the test to learn how to fly. It's the same one on Oculus.
Oh wow.
So like the mechanic simulator, like they had this. It's cool because it's a game. It's sort of like you start this little ma and pa, car shop at your parents' garage, and then you got to move up and you got to buy all these like shitty cars at auctions.
Yeah.
But it like does step by step everything. Like here's how you replace pistons, and then oh fuck, you accidentally like put the whole engine together, but you forgot to put this part.
Yeah.
And so
I wonder. So, especially, all right. Let's say, I wonder. You probably wouldn't even know the answer to this, but I'm curious if let's say you had like a legit like flight simulator where it's like the cockpit of a real plane with actual like physical things.
Yeah.
Which I guess those exist, right? They have some places.
yeah.
So like if you went into that thing with zero knowledge about flying, like me, like I don't know shit about flying a plane.
Yeah.
You went in there. how many out without anyone telling you anything, just from literally like trying shit. I wonder how long it would take you to like actually be able to take off in a plane and land it safely.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't.
Just like keep pushing buttons until
Yeah.
something works, you know?
Yeah. That'd be scary.
You like accidentally invent some brand new way to fly. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh shit, that's brilliant.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's fucking.
It seems so complicated.
You know that's one of the things that like while I was in the union was pissing me off was like management everywhere is retarded. Like they they do the dumbest shit. And I was like I was at this shop where for example, when I was a temp, you had to buy all your gear. You had to buy your gloves, your helmet, your jacket. And then I'm at this shop where motherfuckers are getting a new jacket every 2 weeks. They're just buying it for them. And I'm like, you know what? I've seen videos where you could weld at home in your fucking pajamas because they just have a robot at the shop. Like you can't so the thing is, I don't think a robot could replace welding.
Yeah.
Because every metal is a different thickness and the heat, whatever. But I see motherfuckers like these Zoomer kids with a broccoli haircut, just like at home welding in their pajamas because they're just fucking looking at a screen and they're not getting the sparks. They're not ruining the jacket and all the supplies. So
Wow.
it's the future, I feel like, but I don't know if I'm going to be alive for that,
Yeah.
Too many motherfuckers are going to be like, they took our jobs, you know? Like,
yeah. I know. Yeah, we are headed for like a really complicated future with the AI and all this kind of shit. Dude, a buddy of mine, a very funny comic who moved up here not long ago, his name is Josh Wagner. I'll plug his album. It's called Orange Juice. It's very funny.
Yeah.
He's a very funny comedian. But I was hanging out with him the other night, and he said something I never even thought about before. He was like, he's a big kind of conspiracy theorist guy, but he was like, one thing that will be pretty cool about AI is that like we could be like hanging out like this, and we could literally like come up with a video game idea. We could like come up with an idea for like a video game, and then just like type a thing in and then just like play it all night.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like fuck. I never thought about that.
You ever fuck around with like Chat GPT and shit?
Not really,
dude. Because that's the program that everybody's there's like a controversy because all the kids are writing their papers with it,
Oh, right.
And what's really funny is I can even show you like after this, but like they because I did roast battles, you could take a picture of someone and they just tell it to roast you, and it'll write all the roast jokes.
Oh wow!
But luckily, because I'm like a vulgar comedian, I'm not going to use that shit.
Yeah.
Because I want it. It's kind of like, I don't know what the word is, wokeified.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's still going to be pretty surface level, I would imagine.
Yeah. Because I seen some motherfuckers at mics. I shouldn't say some. I knew one motherfucker. I ain't even going to mention his name, but he started out as a rapper, and he would freestyle. But he'd be like, yo, I'm going to make a freestyle about John Hickok. Write it in the Chat GPT and just have him write the song for him. And then when that didn't work out for him, he started going to mics, and he's like, yo, let's do some crowd work. Where do you work? Oh, you're a YouTuber? Write joke about YouTubers. And then I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
That's crazy.
Like, that's, Yeah. So, but.
I do think, like, the Chat GPT stuff, especially as it gets better, it is going to kind of hurt, like, the one-liner comics to a degree, because that'll be something that, like, almost anyone can do.
Yeah.
Because if you think about, like, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast. Like, you're not crazy about one-liner comics. I like them to a degree. I respect that, like, it's painstakingly going through and finding all these little, like, nuanced connections and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something a machine could do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is going to, like, sadly kind of fuck that up. But it's the thing it'll never be able to do is, like
your presence on stage,
your presence and like your personal perspective and all that kind of shit, which is, what really, like, to me, like the highest level of, I'll tell you, I think, Junior Stopka.
I know the name.
Yeah, he's a Chicago comedian.
Yeah.
To me, he's like the funniest comedian in the world.
Yeah.
And he does everything. He does everything perfectly, like but it's very specific to what I like about comedy.
Yeah.
He will have a joke that's so silly. It's almost alt comedy.
Yeah.
And the thing that makes it not quite alt comedy is because it's also like very traditionally punchy.
Yeah.
While being smart.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's like all the comedy powers like combined, you know what I mean? Where it's like viscerally silly.
Yeah.
You know, like Roy Scovel, his stuff.
No.
Okay, I'm trying to think of an example, but very like alty almost, but some alts really alt comedy. It's like almost too nuanced to be just like very very punchy.
Yeah,
you know, you kind of really got to be like in the mood for it. You know what I'm saying? But his shit is still like traditionally set up punchy.
Yeah.
But so silly. And then it's like there's always like a smart perspective behind it, like how like Bill Burr would do it or something.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, that is like the peak level of comedy. You're doing it all. You're like, hey, we're having fun here, but I'm gonna say some shit. Mm-hmm. You're not being that guy who's like, yeah, I fucking got some shit to say, but you're not really being funny.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have it all.
And you know what? Chicago has a lot of that politically.
Yeah,
it's just like, I'm pissed off about this. I'm gonna. Yeah. This is more of a TED talk. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I remember the first time I met you was at Taylor Street, and I did a bit about shitting on conspiracy theorists, and then you like roasted me lightly.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, but it's fine. Like, I don't care. It's just at the time. So what's really funny is I had my alternative alternative like grungy shit band since I was like 23. And then during lockdown, I was like, why not fucking try playing metal? Because I always sing and play guitar, but in metal, it's like, that's why James Hetfield is so fucking awesome, because it's hard to sing and do those riffs at the same time.
Crazy.
So I was like, I'll play bass, which is the guitar, diet guitar,
Yeah.
And my guitarist, I fucking love him. His name's Rob. I gotta have him on the podcast soon. But he, honestly, he reminds me there's just dudes that have like that construction worker look, and he's a union electrician, and he was nuts about InfoWars. Like, his whole fucking guitar was covered in stickers. And I remember, like, this is kind of mainly why I wrote the bit, because I pissed him off so bad one time. I go, on the way to practice, like, he'd tell me all these like new conspiracies he heard on Alex Jones or whatever, and I go, yeah, but did you hear about the recycling bin conspiracy? Have you ever heard about that? No. So it's like, I was like, like in the fucking 90s, when you turned in cans or bottles, glass bottles, they gave you money for it. That's what bums used to collect. And now we just give it away for free. And what do you know? The recycling bin, what color is it? It's blue. It's because it's going to the Dems. You ever think about that? And he's like, holy fuck, that's crazy. I'm like, I know, man. I just made it up in 10 minutes. But yeah, you know what it is? I don't completely shit on it. Like, how do I put it? I don't deny that a lot of them come true.
But the people that believe every conspiracy theory, it's like, you got to it's like, how are you the guy who questions things, but you don't question the things that people are questioning things? You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, hollow earth and flat earth can't be real at the same time.
Yeah.
It's got to be one or the other, or neither.
And also, it's like, I think what Alex Jones does is, I always tell people, he's playing darts with 1,000 darts.
Yeah.
One of them is going to hit the bullseye.
That's true. Whenever they're like, he's fucking right, it's like, well, he's saying everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
and then they'll be like, he was right about this one out of whatever, 40 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I guess the thing that kind of like that rubs me the wrong way is, like, I don't know if like English was my second language. I'm Polish.
Okay.
And so, like, to me,
you definitely love Junior. He's the most Polish motherfucker I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, I was gonna say Stopka. That sounds.
Dude, yeah.
But I mean, like,
he's like a boxer, and he just like, he's the most Polish looking like.
Does he wear tracksuits and Ross Dress for Less cologne?
No, but he's just You gotta look up his. He has a Comedy Central thing with David Tell from like 10 years ago.
Oh wow!
You gotta check that out on YouTube. He's so.
He's
local.
Funny,
yeah.
Oh shit.
He's one of those guys that, like, it's so stupid that he's not famous. Like, he is like insanely good.
Yeah.
He used to open for Doug Standup for all these years. Like,
oh wow.
Like, every famous comic knows him. Dude, I'll tell you. Sorry, not to derail your story.
No, it's what.
I'll tell you this. Do you know Dale McPeak?
I know the name again.
Okay.
I'm only 2 years in, so I'm still learning everything.
Right. Well, he's like open for Louis and stuff. He's like a local guy, and him and Junior are really good buddies. And he told me this story. It's so fucking funny. So like Dale opened for Shane Gillis, when he came through. I think it was like when he was still doing Zany. So this has been a little while ago.
Yeah.
And Gillis was in town, like, I don't know, a few months ago, headlining the Chicago Theater, and he was having this big party after, and he invited Dale to like go to the party, and then Gillis was like, "Got to bring Junior,"
Yeah.
and then Dale showed up without Junior because Junior whatever didn't feel like going. And Gillis was like, "Where's Junior?" Like he was like sad that like Junior wasn't there. So like this guy's like one of the funniest motherfuckers on the planet, but he was just like, I wanted to hang out with Junior. Like that.
Yeah.
Like that's how funny that guy is. Like famous comedians know who this guy is. They know his name.
Dude, that's one thing I gotta say. Like I've said this before, but like the thing I fucking love about comedy is like I don't even know if this makes me sound like I said, I'm not political. I don't know if this makes me sound progressive or something, but the inclusion of everybody is equal as far as like when I was in music, musicians are the most pretentious, sensitive little bitches. You don't know like
it's so hard to measure what is good. With music. It's so subjective. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because it'll be like, dude, I know this local band that's fucking amazing, but nobody knows about them, and nobody will know about them because the bands above them won't let them open for whatever,
right.
But in comedy, dude, you meet so many fucking like heroes right away. You meet so many fucking people. Like it's crazy. Like
and part of it is because it's like, unfortunately, how funny you are does not have a direct correlation to how successful you are in comedy. Like there's open micers who are more talented comedians than theater acts.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It almost makes you feel more of an artist because it's like I could never like I could be like I don't know, like say I was at some Mike in Chicago and Kyle Kinane stops by or something, and then he'll go up to me and be like, "Yo, that was a good bit." You can't fucking like, "Oh, I'm with my band," and I'm like, "Hey, James Hetfield, check out this riff,"
exactly.
And then he'll compliment you on,
right? Yeah, totally.
So,
it's very cool.
So, what made you want to get into comedy?
Well, I started to tell you when we first came in here, like about my podcast. Like I started a podcast. I had at one point I had this thought of like, once I realized like, oh, this YouTube thing is my livelihood. And I had this thought where it's like, I don't have any other skills. Like my dad retires, like I'm gonna have to fucking to be the guy that's like in the videos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like full time. I've always been in them here and there. But I was mostly just do the production stuff and filming and all that.
So it was mainly your dad's stuff?
Yeah, it's mainly my dad that's on the video.
Okay.
And I'll do them occasionally.
Yeah.
I do like, maybe like 5% of them or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to do more now. I was just getting older and wanting to retire. But at that time, I was like, I'm going to start a podcast because I'd never been like a guy. I never like public speaking or anything. I've always been kind of shy or whatever. I was like, I'm going to start a podcast, kind of like dip my toe in like that world a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was doing the podcast for a while. And then I thought, maybe I'll start. I've always loved stand-up. Maybe I'll do stand-up because that'll give me like some experience like public speaking, so that like when I'm doing the videos, like that'll like translate or whatever. And it's funny because what ended up happening was not what I expected. One, I fell in love with it and got addicted to stand-up, and started to care more about being a stand-up than being a YouTuber. And it actually made me worse at being in front of the camera because I got used to like, you're on stage and you can constantly feel how the audience is feeling about you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get that first joke off, then it works. Then you're like, when you're with them, you're with them.
Yeah.
But when you're just talking to a camera, even like a little bit like a podcast, but more so when like you're explaining something and you're by yourself, you're on an island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm reviewing this microphone and I got to talk to the camera about it, I don't like that camera looks bored as shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that camera doesn't look interested at all. It's never going to look interested. If I make a joke, it's never going to laugh. It's never going to tell me. I'm getting nothing, no feedback whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it almost fucked with me more because I was like geared for the feedback. So that didn't really work out, except I fell in love with comedy, and it's like, no, I'm doing this because I want to be a comedian now, not just. So yeah, long story short, I got into it because I thought it would help me with that, but then I kind of was like, no, I want to do this.
When did you move from Nashville to Chicago?
About a little over 2 years ago.
Oh wow, So you got into
And I
comedy.
still go back to film. I still will travel back like for a few days every month to film.
That's awesome. Did
Yeah.
you ever perform at that Zanies?
Oh
in
yeah, many
Nashville?
times. Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking. I love that mural out there, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because
it's a great room.
in 2020, like when my last person died was my ma, and she had a property in Florida, so we had to go. My brother and I, we had to go fly there and then pack up all her stuff, drive her car back. And
Yeah.
I was like, dude, we have to fucking stop at that Nashville Zanies, you know.
Yeah.
And but yeah,
Yeah, it's a historic club.
yeah, dude.
It opened, I think, just a few years after the one up here.
Yeah.
So I think the Chicago Zanies was 79, and then the Nashville Zanies was 83. I think something like that. So
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, like how you say, like, dude, it gets addicting right away.
yeah,
Right away. And you know, I don't want to sound shitty, but it's like when I started out going to mics, what like I had to get, you know what it reminds me of? I before I even got into comedy and even like writing music, I read Stephen King's On Writing, and one of the quotes in there that he says, he's like, the fucking hardest part for every like artist, or if you got a creative muscle that you flex, is taking that first step. Because once you take that first step, like I was telling you about, like I'm writing an album right now. I'm like, dude, I gotta finish these fucking songs. You know, you write one part, you're like, I gotta fucking finish this shit. And so to me, like, it was that first step. It was getting on that stage. And once I got on that stage, and then I saw how many people are worse than me, I was like, I got it.
Yeah.
It gets addicting.
Totally.
That's what influenced me.
yeah.
But
yeah, same here. I was so nervous about going up my first time. I went to an open mic just to watch.
yeah,
And I'll never forget. So the first night I watched like amateur comedy
yeah,
I went up the week after this. I'll never forget. I remember watching everybody go up there. I remember having a thought where I was just like, "Oh God, that guy's terrible. Oh geez, that's embarrassing." And then you see someone go like, "Oh okay, I can tell that they're like kind of like, oh, like they look like what I think of a good comedian that's like in the making kind of thing."
Yeah.
You know, and it was like kind of interesting. I was like really feeling good about like, okay, all right, yeah, like I could, like there's some comics going up at this open mic that are so bad that like I could go up there and do nothing and it's not going to be worse than that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but it just so happened to also be a night. There was this guy, his name is Jesse Case, and he's kind of like the Nashville Junior Stopka in a way, like nowhere near as accomplished as Junior was. You know, Junior actually like had some TV stuff and like did some pretty big things, but very, very fucking funny. I mean, crazy funny. And he was in L.A. and he got cancer, and he was originally from Nashville, and he moved back home, and he hadn't done a set in a pretty long time.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that night that I chose to show up was his first night doing a set in a long time after coming back home after having cancer. And this motherfucker blew the roof off of the place. They let him do like as much time as he wanted, you know, whatever.
Do you remember what venue?
Yeah, it was a place called Bobby's Idle Hour. They moved it. They tore that location down, so it doesn't exist anymore. There's another one in a different spot, but I was just like, holy shit. Like right as I mean, it didn't make me less confident about going up, but it was just like really cool to see like, oh, there are levels to this shit.
Yeah.
Dude, oh my God. I remember he had these two jokes. I wish I could remember them, but there was like one of the most brilliant, like it was just like brilliant fucking shit. Like he had this whole bit about Scientology.
Yeah.
Or no. Sorry, I just blew the punchline. But it's a whole bit about Rastafarianism and how everyone loves Bob Marley.
Yeah.
And they think it's like this cool like peace and love thing. But he's like breaking it down and like how shitty like Rastafarianism is, and they like beat their wives and all this kind of stuff. And he had his punchline at the end. I mean, the whole bit was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I always remember like the little button on the whole thing where he's like, Rastafarianism is a Scientology with weed.
Yeah.
I always thought that was so fucking funny.
Yeah, dude, it's surprising Scientology they don't do at least coke.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I remember somebody told me like, see, I did podcasting before I did comedy.
Yeah,
because I was
it's the
so
same here, yeah.
afraid of going on stage.
Yeah.
And I remember like that when I almost wanted to use this on stage, but like somebody told me, they're just like, because I am always doubting myself. I always think everyone fucking hates me. that like I heard Bobby Lee talk about this. He's like everywhere, like you don't see somebody for a long time, and you're like, yo, man, are we cool? He's like, yeah, why wouldn't we be? I don't know, I haven't seen you in a while, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I remember asking one of my friends, I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I horrible at making friends? Why? He's like, Phil, you know, there's three people I know who won't shut the fuck up and don't stop talking. Two of them are cokeheads and they stopped doing coke. The third one is you. Yeah, it's like I don't know what, like, did your mom do coke when she was pregnant? You know? But that's what got me into podcasting. Like it's just and that's kind of, I think that's kind of what tied into like the whole one-liner thing where I was like, the other thing was like I felt like nobody can steal your shit. Not that like I'm that amazing anybody would, but it's like nobody can really steal your life experience.
Right.
You know?
If it's truly your perspective, they can't steal that.
Because I don't think I've ever, that's the weird thing too, is I've had so many wild characters and experiences that it's just like I don't think I've ever like made up a story on stage, you know?
Yeah.
So that feels great because it's like a TED Talk that's funny.
Right.
You know?
What's funny is I went through a thing where I was like, I'm not gonna make up any stories. You know, that feels hacky. And then I talked to this one comic and he was like, who does a lot of stories, and he was like, not a Chicago person, someone else, and he's like, oh, I make up all my shit. He's like he was like, you know that one long story? He's like, yeah, like almost none of that was true. And I was like, okay. And I started like, okay, I'm gonna make up some stories, and I did, but I never felt good about them.
Yeah.
And I eventually just like got all that basically out of my act.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I have one that is a made up story that I still do because it's so silly and absurd that there's no way you would ever not think I'm making it up.
Yeah,
especially when I finish it, and it's short. It's a pretty like jokey kind of thing, but I had some like kind of like long stories, and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. It feels kind of gross, you know?
Yeah.
So I kind of got away from that, and it's amazing how when you're just telling a true story and you're making it funny by adding different little perspectives to it, because even if the story itself isn't punchy enough, you can make jokes in it. Like, you know, that's the thing, is like you don't have to have like the funniest story in the world for it to work on stage. You just have to like make it has to be somewhat interesting and then put jokes in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
like
when it's real, it's like you can sound so much more natural.
Yeah. I'll sprinkle some stuff obviously for like a punchline. Like I'm working on this bit now, and I don't even know if it's like politically correct to say, but it's a true story about like I have this friend, and I'm not going to mention it, but like they left a really abusive relationship, you know, and they were telling me, they're like, oh man, you know, like I really like I'm trying to get my shit together because like my husband, like he like really like he fucking hit me and shit, and he was abusive. And then like while I'm hanging out with her, the next day, she's got like a scar, and then she's got like her arms in a sling. I'm like, dude, what the fuck happened? Did you like hang out with him again? And she's like, no, I'm a wrestler. So I was like, well, you got to like rate these beatings for me to know what you can take. You know what I mean? Like it's like I don't know how bad I'm supposed to feel anymore if you're getting fluorescent lights broken over your back on a daily basis, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So it's but I don't know.
Roger, I'll tell you one of Junior's jokes that I love. If you're into wrestling, you probably like this.
Yeah,
well, okay. I'm not a wrestling guy, but
I like the Attitude Era.
I still think this is funny because it's like it's his jokes are really difficult to tell because so much of it is like, because he's very like it's hard to explain. You just have to see him, but it's very hard to retell his jokes.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be him doing it. But one of them that it's pretty retellable because it's straightforward. He's like, you know, I think he's like trying to do the way he talks. He's like, I think porn is a lot like wrestling. You know, no one really cares so much about the plot. But at the end of the day, it's still one mentally ill drug addict getting hit by another one with a 2x4.
Yeah. No, man. Did you have like you personally, did you have like any like, I always ask like what were your like top 3 comedy influences that wanted to make you do comedy? Like were there like top 3 comedians when you started that you were like, this is like what I want to like be one day.
Yeah. I feel like there's like my favorite comedians, and then there's the three that I was into that like made me feel like I could try it.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, like obviously like Louis C.K., Bill Burr,
Yeah.
were the guys I was into like before. I got into it. Hell, even like Jeff Foxworthy and shit. Like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, that was like one of the first like comedians I really heard. That original Kings of Comedy documentary. Or not documentary. Special that they made. Like I remember that was like one of the first like stand up.
Is that like with Larry the Cable Guy?
No, that was like Cedric. That was you're talking about the white one. This is
okay.
No, this is the one with Cedric the Entertainer and Bernie Mac and
okay.
That one. Yeah. And then they basically were like, we're gonna do a white version of that and call it the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Yeah.
And that's the one. That was Jeff Foxworthy and Larry the Cable Guy and Billy Vault and Ron White. Ron White was the guy I loved growing up. But when I was circling the idea of doing comedy, there was these three comedians I was into at the time, and it was interesting enough, Mitch Hedberg, because one thing about him is he's like real like shy on stage, and I always felt like I was like not going to be good at the performance part of it.
Yeah.
And he made me realize like, okay, you can't just kind of stand up there and have good enough jokes that they will stand on their own.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to be funny. You can just say a thing that is funny,
Yeah.
That kind of made me think like, okay, maybe there's a way I could do it. And then, ironically, I'm not even into him anymore, but at the time I was in Ron Funches, that guy? Yeah. And I was like, something about him, I was just like, I really liked the way he wrote, like in this like silly kind of way, that I was really into. And then Duncan Trussell. Do you know Duncan Trussell?
Yeah.
I really liked, because he's more of an alty kind of guy.
He's the psychedelic guy, right?
Yeah. And the way he was like really like saying things and like talking about all that kind of stuff, it was like, so it was kind of like the combination of those of like, I don't have to be Mr. Funny Man up there.
Yeah.
I can just say my shit, and then I can be like silly, but then also like you're allowed to like actually say some real shit. So it was like those three kind of things, I feel like sort of shaped like what I thought, what kind of made me think like, all right, if I can kind of figure out my own way to do this kind of thing. And I still love Mitch Hedberg, but I feel like now the guys I'm more into is like, I love Doug Stanhope, like Norm Macdonald.
Yeah.
Shane Gillis is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously Junior. There's no way. Junior doesn't have like a special or an album. There's like little clips on YouTube and stuff.
Is there a reason why he hasn't done one? Have you ever talked?
Dude, there's a thing with, it's probably maybe seeing this in music. I don't know if the music is like this or not. I have this theory, but like, it's actually, I think, to your disadvantage to be like freakishly talented.
Yeah.
Especially these days. Maybe it was different back in the day. Because like the kind of people who are like, I'm talking like that next level talented.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's people who are just like good, really good.
Yeah.
And there's people who are like great. And then there's people who somehow hit an extra gear beyond great, even where you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How? You know what I mean? Like you can see something and you really think like it doesn't get better than that. And then there's that one outlier that's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And to me, Junior is like one of those type of guys. But the consequence of that is like he doesn't have the kind of brain that can like network and sit down
like the
and,
business aspect. Yeah.
Send emails and do all that kind of shit. He just is a fucking brilliant comedy mind.
Yeah.
And I've known a few people like that, and it's a lot of times they have like big drug problems. Like you know about Eric Myers? You ever heard of him?
No.
You have to check him out sometime. He did like have like an HBO special and some stuff, and he had like all these drug problems and all this shit, but just like freakishly talented. But so like those super talented guys, like I've always thought like a Sam Kinison might not even make it today.
Yeah.
You imagine Sam Kinison like begging for spots and networking.
Yeah.
No. He's gonna piss everyone off.
It's funny that you mentioned, because I was just talking with some of my friends, like everybody kind of has like their little circle that they stick with in comedy, and in my circle, I always mention to my friends, I'm like, yo, dude, you want to see like for example, my favorite fucking special this year is Adrian Palucci or whatever. She just released her special on Netflix.
Okay, I'll check it out.
And it's weird because I don't know if she's a one-liner. She's maybe like a four-liner. You know?
Yeah.
But she's coming to Zany's in April, and I'm telling my friends, I'm like, yo, dude, would you guys want to go to this? And some of my friends in my crew, they're just like, I don't really want to go if I'm not opening or if I'm not,
Yeah.
And it's, why I have to fucking go? Because like Big J is one of probably my top 3 favorites of ever. And like 6 months ago, he was right here in Chicago Improv in Schaumburg, and it reminded me because it was like he had like there was like 4 or 5 openers, 2 of them I think I knew, and it was like they were good, but they were like good to me because they were good in the standard of we're at a local showcase and you're the best guy on the showcase, but then when Big J comes on, it's like you're watching a fucking samurai.
Right.
It's like what you're saying. You're that level of above great, and you forget, oh, shit, this is where you should be going, you know? And
it's one reason it's so hard to get those spots because those guys don't even give a shit if the opener is good.
Yeah.
They almost would rather you're not that good.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of Junior's problem is because he's not famous enough. He's not famous to, like, be a draw.
Yeah.
So he'd have to open for someone. Nobody wants to fucking follow that man.
Yeah.
You can't.
Somebody like him needs to, like, put a GoFundMe together for an agent.
Yeah.
And just have him do the work,
Totally.
It's funny. Like, I watched this. I forgot what fucking podcast it was, but I listened to it recently where, like, and I, like, Big J, it's not just Big J. It's everybody has that comedian doubt. Like, how good are you, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, me, like, I think so shitty of me, but then I'll rewatch my thing. I'll have people message me on Insta like, dude, you're like my favorite fucking local comedian, And it's like you forget that, like, you don't get that validation, but I don't know what the fuck.
You almost will never get validation, I feel like, in stand-up because, dude, I've seen comics that I think are so bad, I wouldn't even book them on a show I'm running that are at, like, the highest levels you can imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's no opportunity I could ever get where I get to be like, now this means I'm good.
Yeah.
Because I've seen comedians I fucking can't stand at every level.
Yeah.
You know? So I feel like there's no validation. The only thing, like, at one point, I always went through that, and I eventually made it my mind where I had enough good, like, longer, like 25, 30-minute sets where I was like, all right, I don't know how good I am. I'm good enough to be a working comic.
Yeah.
I know that I am. So I'll just have to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like one of the greats, but I'm good enough to be a working comic based on what I've seen. And I'm going to figure that out at some point and figure out how to do that. And I'll be happy with that.
The way you're describing Junior, what I was getting at is I heard this podcast. It wasn't like a known podcast. It was like some fucking random fucking dude in a local town, like basically me in another state, you know? And Big J was, and he like started crying because he was saying like so many fucking years he thought he was shit. So he would get these agents that would do like a 50-50 split with him where like he could be at the level of like Bill Burr or like Sebastian Maniscalco, but so many people, like it was like people didn't convince him enough that he's amazing, and then these agents were just like, oh, you're not at that level, so we're gonna have to have this 50-50 cut.
Yeah.
And so like it kind of like that, that self-hate that fucks you over, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And that's why I'm really trying to put together this touring company to give Midwest comedians a chance.
Yeah.
I'm doing my first shot. Long story short, I'm working with this company where I'm trying to bring out like my top 3-4 favorite comedians and just tour the Midwest.
Oh yeah.
So because I have experience in booking.
Good Junior on there, dude. I'm telling you, man. You'll probably like the YouTube thing when you watch his thing. It's good.
Yeah.
But he's also a guy you got to really understand how fucking insanely funny he is.
Yeah.
You've got to see him, man. It's crazy. Like
Would he come on here?
Nah, he's like a hermit, man.
He is.
He doesn't do podcasts and shit.
Yeah.
I tried to get him on mine at one point, and I'm like cool with a lot of people he's really cool with. And, it'd be tough. But if you had a show, he'd probably do it.
Yeah, I definitely see. That's what sucks is like right now I'm at that moment of like a fucking, like a dive bar open mic where you're starting from the ground up.
Right.
That's basically what I'm doing now, because I emailed over 200 fucking venues, and I only got 5 shows. So it's sort of like I have to build that name first.
Right.
But I can't wait, because you know what? Nobody's the way, how do I put this? I'm real opinionated, and it's like I hear people like Rogan, like that's a joke in itself. So many people shit on him that are comedians, but it's like, dude, you all listen to him.
Right,
You all
yeah.
listen to him.
Yeah.
Because the guests are good.
Yeah.
Like I just listened to one with Quentin Tarantino. I could listen to him forever, like, because I'm a movie nerd. But the point I'm getting at is Rogan always says this fucking line that like there's always enough food at the buffet for everybody, right?
And it's not. I don't think that's true.
You don't think that's true?
I mean, he had a very quick rise to.
He
success.
got lucky. Yeah.
I think there's actually a pretty small number of spots, and there's a lot of people trying to get in there.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I feel like if more motherfuckers stuck together, you would do 4 times the amount of work in that amount of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
Because it's sort of like before I got into comedy, because I went through all these deaths and all this tragedy, I really got into meditation. I really got into Taoism. You know anything about Taoism?
A little bit, yeah.
It's like Buddhism with balls.
Yeah.
It's the fucking Genghis Khan Buddhism.
Yeah.
And it made me understand people in like a stoic manner. But then what I realized is, like, I'd be in comedy, I'd be like, I forgot that not everybody else is this stoic. People are looking to be backstabby, and they have no problem with being that way.
Totally.
And that's why I'm trying to form a group where I'm like, dude, let's fucking help each other.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like, whatever. Say, I don't even know what example to give. If you got a spot at Zany's and this person, I got a spot at Laugh Factory, it's like, you know how much easier it is for me to just recommend you and you to recommend me,
right?
And like how many fucking, like, people don't want to do that shit.
Yeah,
it's so fucking weird, and especially like you said, in a world where it's oversaturated, that recommendation goes a long way when it's coming from somebody who's funny and doing that spot.
Yeah,
but
yeah, part of the problem with that, because I run into that. I was trying to book a tour, but like. With Junior was like game to do some shows and stuff with me, and I was like, all right, let me try to book some stuff. I would literally tell people like, all right, this guy, he's got a Comedy Central credit, he's open for like, all these big names, like stand up, all this shit. He's like, I'm telling you, he's like the funniest guy in the world. Like if you don't put him last on your show, it will ruin the show. Like he's that funny, and it's like kind of don't care.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not even that they don't believe me. I think they just don't care. It's like a lot of times these shows are, it's like, but people who, it's like this weird game that is played where the people who book shows are comedians a lot of the time. If we're not talking about the clubs, we're talking about like the more independent stuff.
Yeah.
So they're just trying to get spots. So they only want to book people who can give them something.
Yeah.
As long as the show is good enough. That's the thing, is like, I've always said, once you get to the level of comedy where you're bookable, but you're not great yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't even matter how good you are in that middle. It doesn't even matter, because as long as you can like not embarrass the show, they don't care. That's all I care about.
That's why I put all my fucking faith. Like, I was never really that religious. Maybe when I was really young, I put all my faith in karma. In the sense of like, if you're a fucking opportunist, opportunities are going to come your way, but not in the way that you want it.
Right.
Like, I know so many people who, like, I know a few people, I'm not going to name them, who, like, they gave their shot at comedy. They sucked, but then they were really good at kissing people's asses to be an opportunist. And so what do? They become, like, the most amazing fucking, like, they run an amazing showcase, or they become the next gatekeeper. And it's like, oh, now they're going into that. And that's karma.
And their comedy suffers usually.
And and now it's like you're no longer a comedian. You're following you kissed your ass to the top, but it's sort of like you're not. I guess what I'm saying is, like, when you focus on I'm doing comedy, like I guess these are the rules that I learned from 2 years. Is like, who the fuck am I saying it's 2 years? But it's just like I learned like number one, jealousy doesn't get you shit, doesn't or comparing, and consistency. If you're just focused on your material, those things come your way. You know what I mean? I can't explain it. It's sort of like when you give a $20 bill to a homeless person, I notice suddenly really good things start happening to me. That's the karma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just like if you're going in it for the art, things will come your way. You'll naturally be good because people know you got good intentions. That's why I kind of like that. I don't really fit in. I started noticing that all these little booking places have their own little cliques.
Mm-hmm.
I am such a fucking outsider. I don't fit in anywhere that I'm like, people like me a little bit everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but one thing I do want to ask before we wrap anything up is I was looking at your stuff a while back when I first met you, and how the fuck was meeting Tucker Carlson, dude? How the fuck was that? I got to ask about that. Are you comfortable with talking about that?
Yes, totally. Yeah. So he was, that came about because he's like legitimately just like a huge fan.
Oh,
of
wow.
our videos. Like to the point where he was like nervous to meet my dad almost.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
Yeah. He's
dude.
like that big of a fan.
That's fucking awesome.
And it was kind of crazy because we didn't I remember we'd be having a conversation about something and he actually knows the videos. Like we'd reference something and he would like know like, oh, I remember that video. I remember this or that. And like, it was pretty bizarre,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so they were starting back when he was still with Fox News. They were starting this like streaming thing. I don't know if it's still going or whatever. I don't know, but it's some kind of like Fox News like streaming thing where they're going to do like some different kinds of things. And whoever was running it like tasked him with like, we want you to have like a show on it to like promote it or whatever.
Yeah.
And his thought was like, all right, I'm going to try to get Hickok 45, do a segment on him. So that was how that came about. He came down and they had a little film crew and they did like a segment.
Did he have like high security and shit?
No, not really. So like the first time we went out to dinner and they had a like a private, like the private dining room, whatever. What was really weird is so we got there after he was already there, and when we were walking through the steakhouse, you could feel that like someone really famous just walked through there. It was weird. It was weird. Like and they were looking at us like, oh shit, they're with them. They're going back. It was like really strange. You could just like feel it. Like the manager's coming into the room constantly and like saying it was like pretty bizarre. I never had experience like that in my life, but he was super cool, super normal. We had good conversation. Like I joked with him and told him that I thought he was an alien at one point.
Yes,
fucking with him, whatever. But he's nice. It was a nice guy or whatever. And then also later that night, his show. He was still doing the show on Fox News.
Yeah,
he had to tape a show that night. So I think it was actually before the dinner we got to watch him do his show.
Yeah.
He set up a studio. There was like some studio in Nashville where he set up to do it. And that was really bizarre because he had that shit so dialed in. Politics aside, just his skill as a media broadcaster was insane to watch because, he was just, dude, he was just sitting in a chair in front of a TV that had like a thing running on that looked like a TV background.
Yeah.
A city background.
Yeah.
And it was just moving a little bit. That's all it was. And just in this fucking room, in this studio. And we're sitting there behind the camera watching him. And he like does the segment. And then in between, when it was a commercial, he's like talking to us and shit, asking dad all these questions or whatever. And then the guy would be like, all right, we're back in 10, and they'd be like counting down. He's like still talking to us. And then like right before he's like fucking right back, like just fucking locked
Zoomed in. Yeah.
Yeah. It was fucking crazy.
That's fucking awesome.
And then the weirdest part, so like we did the video and everything, it came out. He like shot some of my machine guns, which is kind of cool. If I ever sell them at some point, I can be like, they were Tucker Carlson shot these. But he flew out that day right after we got done filming and everything because he had to have dinner with George Bush.
Wow, dude.
That's like, wow.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like I said, I was never in I never got into any politics either side, but for some reason, like I always thought Tucker Carlson was funny. Like he
Yeah.
had something about it. And then like I started listening to his podcast, and I was like,
He's totally
he's
changed.
cool.
It's like he gets to be
he's
himself.
yeah,
he gets to be himself.
That's what I was just about to
'Cause
say. Yeah.
that version of Tucker Carlson is the one that I met more so than the one that we saw that you see on Fox News.
Yeah, yeah.
The one that he's like being now.
Yeah. I listened to that episode with the pharmaceutical whistleblowers.
Yeah.
That was fucking awesome. But I mean, yeah, he's just like,
and he was really nice. Like, he like met my son and everything. And it was like really, he was just super, super
do you
nice.
think he'd ever have you on his?
I don't know. Maybe at some point. He did tell me, he was like, let me know when you come up to Maine, because he lives in Maine and Florida.
Yeah.
He has 2 houses, and he was like, yeah, let me know when if you're doing stand up up there, I'll come by and see you. I was like, but that was years ago, though. I don't know. I mean, I got his number, but I never called him.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like that's a thing you do. You don't want to waste,
Yeah.
Wait till something real important.
Yeah, no, that's awesome because I just
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's very controversial, politically. What's one thing I hate that I knew this would happen. People ask me like, why didn't you go to Austin? Why did you come to Chicago? One reason for that is the distance, because I have to go back.
Yeah.
And it's only 8 hours. Austin's like 12, 13.
Yeah.
know? There's that factor. But even without that, the thing is, like, I get labeled as like a super conservative guy because of the guns.
I was going to ask that.
Shit.
Like, how does that affect comedy?
Yeah, it's like, because I'm not that. I mean, I am on some things, but not on everything. I wouldn't even say I'm a centrist because I'm like extreme on some things. And, different, views or whatever.
It's almost like I would say I feel like I get this vibe from you, like you're more conservative rather than Republican.
Yeah,
is that like because
I don't know.
difference?
I'm
as
like
far as like values and stuff.
and I'm not really. I don't know. It's tough to say. Like I have some people will call me like a libertarian, but I don't believe in no government.
Yeah.
So I'm not a libertarian, but I'm like one of those guys that's like, yeah, I'm not into the economic. I'm not into like the way that liberals view the economy.
Yeah.
And then I'm not into the way that the conservatives view like controlling like social stuff, like the war on drugs or even like abortion or like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm more of a let people kind of do their thing if they're not hurting other people.
Yeah.
And then but so the Tucker Carlson thing especially made it to where it was like, oh, I'm some fucking crazy right wing gun nut or whatever. But that's one reason I like being in Chicago, because it's a very liberal city, and I want to be a comic that can play those types of rooms, because like I want to do jokes about guns and things like that typically liberal audiences wouldn't like.
Yeah.
And I know that if I can get them to laugh, then it's actually good, because I don't want to be like pandering to people that are just going to support it because of what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that is my issue with Austin, even though it's a great comedy town. I've been down there, done shows many times, but I feel like I would have been I feel like I would have like done too well is the wrong term. I'd have gone down there and not gotten shit. But I feel like I wouldn't have grown as a comedian the way I would like to.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way to put it.
No, I get what you mean. It's something I'm realizing too as well, that like, I got into comedy at this traumatic stage in my life where I was like, laugh at tragedy, like laugh in and I was just like, every fucking person, they're just like, dude, you got to heal, because I'm just shitting on every dead relative and stuff. They're just like, this is just like fucked up, and it could be funny to like 1% of the audience, you know?
Right.
So it's like, and so I'm sort of turning that chapter of like, I healed.
You kind of got to get that out, I think. I think that's also like a newer comic thing, because I did the same thing. When I started comedy, I was like, dark jokes. I'm like, what can I get away with? That kind of shit. And then over time, I moved away from that, and then almost was like doing like, not even intentionally, but like more like cleaner comedy.
Yeah.
And then now I'm starting to move back to like a more nuanced version of like where it's like, I want to say some shit. I want to do some ideas. I'm okay with pushing buttons, but I'm not just trying to push buttons.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Like the goal is laughter,
Yeah.
And the hardest part for me was like, So it's funny how we were talking about like Dave Mustaine is when you come from any music background, whether it's that, like I was saying, the psychedelic alternative music or metal, especially metal. When I played metal, I'm supposed to look like a scary, intimidating asshole on stage.
Right.
You don't want that in comedy.
Right.
You know, and not only that, when you're in music, you're trying to be a rock star. You're trying to fucking like, you know, thrust on that guitar on stage.
Yeah.
You don't succeed in comedy looking cool.
Yeah.
They like people aren't paying to see a guy talk about how fucking cool he is.
Right.
That's why I almost got it's funny because like I almost got like, do I dress like too cool? And they're like, dude, you look like a fucking clown. And I'm like, okay,
Perfect.
As long as like I like dressing like this, but I'm glad people are laughing at it, you know, because that's the other thing too that I realized too was like, I literally just am truthfully being myself, whatever it is with the hair, with the personality. I'm being my truthful self. And the thing that's fucking great is like sometimes I'll go on stage and people automatically, they're like, this guy's a douchebag. So then I realized self-deprecation. That's what fucking works. That's what gets the laughs. Not shitting on my dead relatives. Not like, oh, where can I push the button?
Yeah.
Just fucking get the laughs.
I'll tell you something else. So, and you have to play around with this. I'm not saying that's not saying that that's wrong at all. But just like my journey through that was, I used to have real long hair, like a real metalhead.
Yeah.
And it started falling out enough to where I cut it. And I noticed, and that happened like in the first year or so of me doing comedy. I noticed that people perceived me differently with a shaved head because it was more of like that. I looked scary and intimidating on stage. Whereas with the long hair, they saw me more as like a chill, like stoner dude or something. You know?
Yeah.
So it really changed my comedy. And for really like years, I was trying all these different openers where, I would do self-deprecating stuff. I would, I felt like people like think I'm racist, so I would like do jokes about that, you know what I mean? Like about how I look racist and all this kind of stuff. And then I got to this phase where I'm just like, fuck that. I don't have to play these games. Like I'm just going to go up there and do my shit, just try to like start with my best joke. And I was doing that for a while. And then that was like working okay, to a degree.
Yeah.
But then I feel like more recently, almost in the past like year or so, I found my favorite version of how to deal with that. And it's simply just having personal jokes up front that make it like I'm a human being.
Yeah.
I teach them enough about me as a human being that they stop thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that is now kind of the way I open more so. Whereas I don't have to. It's like I don't have to talk about that I look like a skinhead or that I'm tall or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm like being intriguing enough about like my life, then it's like they're not thinking about that anymore.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. People they want to know your true fucking, like, that's something somebody told me. They're like, whatever you're doing on stage, people can see right through if it's an act or not.
Right.
So they want to know.
So it better be like truly an act. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're actually like doing a character or being performative,
yeah,
then I feel like it's not as big of a deal because it's like we know that it's an act and we know that we know that it's an act and it's fine.
Yeah.
But when someone's like trying to pretend like they're natural, but you can see that it's an act, that's where the problem is.
Like I literally just like, this isn't even, I mean, I'm incorporating this. I said this in my set for the first time last night. I was at Laugh Factory, but it was really funny. My friend Marcos, shout out to Marcos, he books shows in Rockford, and he told me, he's like, yo, man, I'm coming from Rockford, like around Wisconsin, to do a show at Lincoln Lodge. Can anybody come out? Because this is the first time I've been in Chicago for a while. So I went to go see in the intent of like, oh, I'm just seeing my friend's show in Chicago. And I'm there and I'm like, people are like staring at me weird. But I always get stared at because of the way I look.
Yeah.
But then I realized it was a benefit for victims of sexual assault. I'm like, yeah, man, I kind of look like it's bold of me to be here, and the joke is, not only is it bold of me to be there, but also
like I'm here to say sorry.
Yeah. And not only that, it's like, this is not like, to tell you the truth, this is what a sexual assault guy looks in like a Mad Max movie.
Right.
Not in real life. In real life, it's fucking Jared from Subway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that was kind of funny that like, yeah.
That's like it's funny you say that. I don't want to call this guy out, but at all. Okay, there's a fuck, how do I say this? I do not want to make this a thing, but there's a comic that like someone told me was like kind of like being kind of creepy, like legitimately.
Yeah.
You know,
I
like,
think I
he
might know
creeped
what you're
out
talking
some of
about.
the women or something. There's probably multiples that you might think I'm talking about. But,
Yeah.
But they were there, and I was like, really? And I was like, oh, who's that? I was like, I know that name. Who's that guy? And he's like this guy, and he showed me the picture. And I was like, that guy. I was like, when I saw that guy, I was like, he looks way too much like a creep to be a creep. He is. They were like, yeah. They were like, yeah. And I was like, fuck, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like this dude looks like, you know, like if you're watching Family Guy and they need someone to look like a creep, like it's almost like too cartoonish to be real. And I was just like, fuck, okay,
yeah.
I guess sometimes they do look like that.
Yeah. You know, I talked about this before when I had like women comics on here about like how I used to be, when the whole Me Too thing started, I used to be that dude. Fuck that, blame the victim. You know, like real defensive, but. Part of it, I mean, there's no excuse, but part of it was because I was falsely accused of raping this chick, and she even admitted that she was wrong and that she was doing it for attention and she was going through some stuff. So like it
still hurts your reputation.
Yeah. And so and this was before I did it was just like I had this bias of like, you know, don't trust everything you hear. But then when I got into comedy, I was like, dude, I'm so fucking happy that I'm married so that women are like, I can be comfortable around this guy because he's in a happy marriage. And I didn't realize how many motherfuckers like, it's like, I can't explain. I don't know how to explain it. It's like.
But I know that.
It's like in music when you're a fucking creep and you're like, you know, being fucked up towards women. It's almost like more accepted. Oh, it's just what rock stars do or some shit, you know?
Right.
But I always tell people, I work with all these like Fox News addicts bosses, you know? And I tell them, I'm like, you know why all this shit is coming out? Because this is the generation of transparency. That's why all corporate news is dying. And you got Tucker Carlson on YouTube. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, that's why in comedy, everything is transparent. So I'm glad that motherfuckers like that get called out.
Totally.
Because like, I don't know. I don't
like
want.
There was definitely some famous people who got falsely accused of some things.
Yeah.
But then there was some that like needed to be.
And you know what's fucking interesting about that is that it sucks for the people who are creepy but they're not famous. It's like they're not even famous enough to cancel.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, this guy's a creep. Everybody knows he's a creep. Well, you know what? He's just going to go do comedy in this other state and do the same exact fucking thing, and nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that guy on the high horse or whatever, but I'm just going to be honest. Like, I was super socially awkward. I was with girls. Like, I was that dude where I went on like 3 dates, and on the 4th date, I was like, "So is it like okay if I put my hand around you now?" Or like, I was that dude asking for permission to give you a hug. I never like got that urge to like do anything creepy. That's why I can't relate, you know, and that's why like I'm like, if you're that famous, do you have to do that? You know, like don't you have chicks coming at you left and right to where you don't have to be abusive? You know, like I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if like with famous people like that like they have chicks coming at them all the time. There's like a thing where they still want to feel like, because they know that that's happening because they're famous. Yeah. They still want to feel like they can like let me see if I can really get one honest kind of, you know what I mean? Or they expect, you know what I mean? There might be something like that going on, you know? I don't know. But yeah, there's no excuse for that shit because it's so easy not to do it. Yeah. You just don't do it.
Plus, I always tell, like, aside from creeps, I always tell dudes in comedy, because I know a few dudes who like will mess around with chicks in the comedy scene like consensually and not creepy. And I'm like, dude, you do not want to run into an ex every fucking mic. Yep. You know, just do it outside. Yep. You might even impress an average non-comedian chick more than another comedian. Yeah. You know,
I've had 2 lessons that you should not date comics. Yeah. and luckily I found out early enough, or they didn't go far enough that where it was like any sort of too big of a problem. But it was just like, it's terrible. Like you have some kind of thing where it ends awkwardly or something, and then you got to see them. It's like,
Yeah.
yikes.
Even with like, I've had like comedy beefs where you just have like one wrong interaction, that shit spreads like wildfire,
Totally.
and that's like
Yeah.
your reputation or some shit,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
it's better to just avoid it. Also, is like, I thought it was something I wanted for a while, but in hindsight, I think dating a comic is like, I don't know. I've seen it work. There's some like comedy couples in Chicago
Yeah.
that seems to work or whatever.
Bob and Ariel and
Yeah.
fucking who else?
Zach Albers,
Yeah.
Courtney.
Yeah, and what's that other one? Who the fuck am I thinking? Sarah Perry and John.
Oh right, yeah. But I think
good for them.
yeah, totally. And you never know,
Yeah,
behind closed doors how good it actually is. But I think it's like, yeah, it's like if you're a comic, you're around comics all the time, and you kind of almost like your person you want them to be different,
Yeah.
Like I've been with this girl I'm dating now for like 4 months, and it's like she's not a comic, and it's like so nice to be like, oh, I get to spend time with like a regular person.
Yeah.
And it's actually helps you because if you're just around comics all the time, it's like comics kind of think a certain way or whatever. Like you need to be around regular people too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it's beneficial. And then also, all comics get into comedy for a similar reason, and you don't necessarily want to be around. It's just.
Oh, you talking about getting pussy?
No. I just mean that like comics are like they're like cats or something. I don't know. That's not a good example. I'm trying to think of how to explain it, but it's like I feel like relationships between comics, like in a romantic way, it's like two personality types that really are not meant to be together.
Yeah,
yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like we're too much like Brandon Kiefer. You know him? He always says like comics are like broken toys. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I'm sure it works out for some people, but it's. I've heard a lot of bad stories and had a couple of bad experiences myself.
Yeah, that's why I love my wife because like I don't want to say we're opposites, but it's just like it's literally what our couples therapist said. She's like, your wife says a few words and they're profound. You run your mouth like crazy and it's bullshit. Like I need that like yin and yang.
It's good. Yeah, that's what you want. Yeah.
And the weird thing is like my wife, I don't think I've ever made her laugh with any of my jokes.
Yeah.
But the humor we have at home is a completely different fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like she tells me that I act like Jim Carrey at home. Like I'm just like I don't do that on stage, but I guess it's good for the relationship, whatever.
Yeah.
But
yeah, totally.
So I don't know if you want to mention anything else before we wrap up.
I don't know. I guess not, probably.
Do you? How many years have you been in now in comedy?
9.
9 years.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I started in the fall of 2015.
Wow. Yeah, dude. That's fucking great because you don't seem. I know some people who are in that long and they're just either really jaded or they just moved to Austin.
Yeah, I've definitely got some of that jaded. I don't know. It's tough doing it this long, and I don't really feel like I've accomplished much.
Yeah.
Like as far as like that's measurable. You know? I feel like I've grown a lot as a comedian as far as like my act and all that stuff. But it's like that's just how it goes sometimes,
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to be stubborn and do it your own way, not play the game and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
Which I'll get really frustrated with certain things, how certain things work, and then I just have to remember like I was never going to be that guy anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just never going to be that guy, so I have to kind of like stick to, who I've always been and find my own way to make it because it doesn't make sense to like look at a bunch of people. Be like, look at those people over there having success. I don't fucking like any of them. And then being like, but then also being mad that you're not part of one of those people. It's
yeah.
It's like, yeah, but you're not like them. You're not going to be part of that. You're not going to, they're all similar for a reason.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone has success. I just mean that like, the comics who have been successful that I respect, it took them a long time.
Yeah.
It took them a very long time. I think, Jeff Asmus, have you heard about him?
No.
He was a Chicago product and is a big New York comic now.
Okay.
It's kind of his story to tell, I guess, but he has a great story of like, he like hit it, like really hit the ground running with comedy and he got JFL like 4 years in or something like that.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like had a bad, experience, basically. Like, moved to New York, and then basically just like ended up having to like leave New York and then come back to Chicago because some shit like didn't work out, comedy wise or whatever. Like, what basically got an opportunity from what I heard, like that he wasn't quite ready for, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Came back to Chicago, busted his ass for years and years and years, and then like rose to the top of this scene, and then tried New York again, and immediately like got past the cellar and is like, about to like break it. It's huge,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and you hear so many stories like Louis C.K. Even back when there was like no comedians almost, it took him 20 years before anyone really knew who the fuck he was. Louis C.K. started comedy in 1986.
Yeah.
Who knew about Louis C.K. before that big special that came out in 2007?
Yeah, yeah.
The one with the sucking a bag of dicks joke in it. Like,
yeah.
Like, who really knew about Louis before that? Unless you lived in New York and saw him do sets.
And now he's the fucking GOAT.
Yeah. He's the best to ever do it. And it took him almost 20 years to be like nationally recognized,
Yeah.
So,
and the weird
Sam
thing
Talent's another one. Like, it just takes a long time sometimes.
And the weird thing is, you watch those young clips of Louis C.K., they're not that bad.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're not. Yeah,
it's fucking crazy.
That's the thing. Like I said, the difference between an open micer and a theater comic can be so much smaller than people realize.
Yeah,
You know? It's just about staying in there, figuring out a way to make your own opportunities. Like you can toil away for 15 years and then just like get the right little thing, and then boom.
Yeah,
or you can be like Junior Sopka, be like the funniest motherfucker that ever lived, and you just like drive for Uber. It's
I talked about this before, but it's just like it reminds me of welding.
Sorry, I do want to check and see what time it is.
Oh yeah, it's all good. Want to get out of here?
Yeah, I probably should go here pretty soon.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this last thing that like like it was like the letdown for me of welding, because like it's like you're an innocent little kid where I'm like, all right, this is what I want to do because this is fun and I'm good at this. But then it's like, what do you need to be a good welder? And I thought, I was like, oh, you just got to be skilled. I've done every type of welding besides underwater. But then it's like, oh no, you got to fit in with these OxyContin addicted divorced union guys that work fucking 80 hours a week, that if you miss double time, they call you a fucking pussy. That's like part of it. And that's kind of like, it helped me perspective in comedy where like you said, like, Junior, I know so many people who are so fucking funny and they're like, I don't want to do anything outside of Illinois. Yeah. Like one person, I'm so emotionally fucking happy for Jess Misitano that she moved out to Austin.
Yeah.
Because it was like, there was no place for her to go further in here.
Right.
Like that's where she needed to fucking go.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, dude, it's fucking. I'm glad I got to know you more and
yeah,
shit.
Man. This was fun. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, dude, for sure. If
get some time, I'll get you on my podcast once I get it rolling.
Yeah, definitely, dude. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
so thank you for getting wild. Fuck yeah.
Appreciate it. All right.
I always fuck that up at the end,
do.
dude. It's even more embarrassing when you're a white dude and there's a black guy. You're like,
I used to do a joke. It's probably hack, but I used to do a joke during the pandemic about how like handshakes now have become a game of rock paper scissors.
Yeah,
no one knows like what you're doing.
It really is, Dan.